In the quiet corners of the Pokemon world, where ancient stories whisper through rustling leaves and forgotten monuments stand silent against the passage of time, there exists a shadow that stretches across every region, every generation, every tale we think we know so well. It is a shadow cast not by any legendary Pokemon or mysterious force of nature, but by something far more human, far more real, and far more carefully hidden from the bright, cheerful surface of these beloved lands we've come to call home. The war they erased was not erased completely. Like sediment in still water, traces of this great conflict have settled into the very foundations of the Pokemon world, embedded so deeply in the landscape of memory and stone that they have become part of the natural order itself. You can feel it in the reverent silence that falls over battlefields turned into memorial gardens. You can see it in the careful way certain older trainers speak of the past, their voices carrying weights that young hearts cannot yet understand. You can touch it in the weathered stones of monuments whose original purposes have been gently obscured by time and the tender mercy of collective forgetting. This was a war fought not between humans and Pokemon, but between humans alongside their Pokemon partners, a conflict that shattered the ancient understanding of what it meant to share this world with creatures of such incredible power and intelligence. The scars of this war run deeper than any canyon carved by Groudon's rage, or any crater left by Deoxys's descent from the stars. They run through the very DNA of how societies organize themselves, how regions relate to one another, and how the delicate balance between human ambition and Pokemon wisdom came to be so carefully, so deliberately maintained. Lieutenant Surge, that boisterous electric-type gym leader whose laughter echoes through the halls of Vermilion City, carries within his seemingly carefree demeanor the weight of memories from what he calls simply the war. His Raichu, evolved not through patient training, but through the harsh necessities of conflict, stands as a living reminder that there was once a time when Pokemon evolution was not a celebration of growth and partnership, but a desperate scramble for survival on fields where Thunder Wave attacks meant the difference between seeing another sunrise and becoming just another name carved into memorial stone. The war began, as so many wars do, with the best of intentions wrapped around the hardest of choices. In an age when the regions were not yet bound by the careful treaties and gentle traditions that now govern Pokemon League competitions, when communication between distant lands required weeks of travel across dangerous territories populated by wild Pokemon whose power had not yet been understood or respected, there arose a fundamental disagreement about the nature of the relationship between humans and their Pokemon partners. On one side stood those who believed that Pokemon were resources to be maximized, tools of incredible power that could reshape the world according to human vision and human need. They looked at the raw elemental forces contained within even the smallest Pikachu and saw the potential to move mountains, to change the course of rivers, to transform barren wastelands into fertile paradises. Their vision was not inherently cruel, but it was fundamentally utilitarian, viewing Pokemon as means to human ends rather than as partners in a shared journey of discovery and growth. On the other side gathered those who had come to understand that Pokemon possessed not just power, but wisdom, not just strength, consciousness that deserved respect and consideration in its own right. These trainers and researchers had spent years in deep communion with their partners, learning that the bond between human and Pokemon was not one of master and servant, but of mutual understanding, shared purpose, and complementary strengths working together toward goals that neither could achieve alone. The philosophical divide might have remained just that, a difference of opinion debated in research facilities and training academies, if not for the discovery of what came to be known as the infinity energy phenomenon. Deep beneath the earth of what would later become the Kalos region, ancient technologies were uncovered that could harness and amplify the life force that flows through all Pokemon, transforming their natural abilities into weapons of unimaginable destructive potential. The mere existence of such technology forced a crisis that could no longer be resolved through debate or compromise. Those who viewed Pokemon as resources saw in infinity energy the ultimate validation of their worldview, a way to tap directly into the source of Pokemon power without the messy complications of partnership, consent, or mutual respect. Those who had come to understand Pokemon as partners recoiled in horror at the thought of such exploitation, recognizing instinctively that to drain the life force from Pokemon for human purposes would fundamentally corrupt the relationship that made their world possible. The weapon that emerged from this technology was not a machine in any conventional sense, but a fusion of ancient engineering and Pokemon essence that could channel the combined life energy of thousands of Pokemon into a single, focused beam of pure destructive force. The very existence of such a device changed the calculus of power in the world, making traditional armies and conventional weapons obsolete overnight. Whoever controlled the ultimate weapon would control the fate of all regions, all peoples, all Pokemon. But the weapon demanded a terrible price for its use. Each activation required the willing sacrifice of Pokemon life energy on a massive scale, draining the essence from hundreds of partners who had trusted their human companions with their very lives. The moral weight of such a requirement was staggering, creating a weapon that could only be used by those willing to betray the fundamental trust upon which the human-Pokemon relationship was built. The war that followed was unlike any conflict the world had seen before or since. Battles were fought not just with traditional Pokemon moves and human strategy, but with technologies that could amplify Pokemon abilities beyond their natural limits, with ancient machines that could control wild Pokemon against their will, and with weapons that turned the very life force of Pokemon into instruments of destruction. The landscape itself became a casualty as Hyper Beam attacks powered by artificial amplification carved permanent scars into mountainsides, and psychic energies unleashed without the careful control of partnership tore rifts in the fabric of space that took decades to heal. The human cost was immeasurable, but the Pokemon cost was even greater. Entire species that had lived in harmony with humans for generations found themselves caught between opposing forces. Their natural instincts to protect and serve their human partners twisted into obligations to participate in destruction they could not understand. Wild Pokemon fled from regions where the fighting was heaviest, creating ecological disruptions that rippled outward for years. The trust that had taken centuries to build between human and Pokemon communities shattered in places, leaving wounds that would take generations to heal. Yet, even in the darkest moments of this conflict, there were lights that refused to be extinguished. Individual trainers on both sides of the war began to question the path their leaders had chosen, recognizing that victory achieved through the exploitation and sacrifice of Pokemon partners would be no victory at all, but merely a hollow triumph that would leave the world diminished and broken. These trainers began to reach across the battle lines, sharing stories and experiences that reminded them of what they were fighting to protect rather than what they were fighting to destroy. The turning point came not through any decisive battle or strategic breakthrough, but through a gradual recognition that the war itself had become the enemy. The ultimate weapon, that terrible fusion of technology and Pokemon essence, proved to be as dangerous to its wielders as to its targets, creating feedback loops of energy that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of the regions where it was deployed. Scientists and researchers from both sides of the conflict began to work together in secret, sharing data and insights that revealed the true cost of the path they had chosen. The collaboration between these researchers moved like water, finding its course through stone, slowly but inevitably carving new pathways of understanding. In hidden laboratories, tucked away in neutral territories, scientists who had once developed weapons of war now turned their expertise toward healing the damage they had helped to create. They discovered that the artificial amplification technologies, while devastating in their military applications, contained within their very design the seeds of restoration. The same energy matrices that had been used to force Pokemon beyond their natural limits could, with careful recalibration, be used to repair the psychic and physical trauma that the conflict had inflicted upon both human and Pokemon populations. The process was painstaking and delicate, requiring not just technical expertise, but a deep understanding of the emotional bonds that connected trainer and Pokemon. Each healing session became an act of trust rebuilding, as traumatized Pokemon learned once again to accept human touch and guidance, while their human partners confronted the weight of what their species had done in the name of victory. The researchers documented case after case of profound transformation, watching as Pokemon who had been reduced to mere weapons slowly remembered their capacity for joy, play, and unconditional love. These individual healings became the foundation for something larger, a growing network of trainers and researchers committed to ending the conflict, not through conquest, but through reconciliation. As word of these healing efforts spread through underground channels, more and more participants in the war began to question their continued involvement. Desertion rates climbed on both sides, but rather than being treated as cowardice, these departures began to be seen as acts of courage by those who remained. Entire military units would simply walk away from their positions, taking their Pokemon partners with them and disappearing into the wilderness, where they could begin the long process of healing together. The leadership on both sides found themselves commanding increasingly hollow armies, their grand strategies undermined not by enemy action, but by the simple refusal of their own forces to continue participating in destruction. The end, when it finally came, was not marked by surrender or treaty signing, but by a gradual recognition that the with their time. Command structures dissolved as officers at every level chose to focus on caring for their wounded Pokemon rather than planning the next offensive. The great war machines, those terrible fusion devices that had promised ultimate victory, were abandoned in place, their operators having walked away to tend gardens and rebuild communities. In the aftermath, there emerged an unspoken agreement that the war would not be celebrated or commemorated, but neither would it be completely forgotten. Instead, it would be transformed into something else entirely, woven into the fabric of everyday life in ways so subtle that future generations would absorb its lessons without fully understanding their origin. The Pokémon Centers that began to appear in every town and city were more than simple healing stations. They were monuments to the principle that the well-being of Pokémon must always come first, built upon foundations of medical knowledge that had been hard-won through the treatment of war injuries. The careful protocols governing Pokémon battles, the emphasis on fair play and mutual respect, the absolute prohibition against forcing Pokémon to fight beyond their limits. All of these emerged from the collective memory of what happened when such safeguards were abandoned. The technology of the Pokéball itself underwent subtle but significant changes in the post-war period. Engineers who had once worked on containment systems for military applications turned their skills toward creating storage devices that prioritized Pokémon comfort and autonomy. The modern Pokéball, with its ability to create customized environments perfectly suited to each individual Pokémon's needs, represents the culmination of decades of research driven by the desire to ensure that capture and training would never again become tools of exploitation. Even the sound of a Pokéball opening and closing was carefully designed to be soothing rather than jarring, a small but meaningful gesture toward healing the trauma that mechanical sounds had once inflicted upon Pokémon forced into unwilling service. The regional professor system that coordinates Pokémon research across the world emerged directly from the network of scientists who had worked together to end the war. These researchers, having seen firsthand the dangers of allowing Pokémon knowledge to become concentrated in military or corporate hands, established a tradition of open collaboration and shared discovery that transcends national boundaries. Each regional professor maintains extensive correspondence with their colleagues, sharing data and insights that ensure no single group can ever again monopolize understanding of Pokémon biology and behavior. The starter Pokémon program, seemingly a simple tradition of giving young trainers their first partners, actually serves as a sophisticated monitoring system that allows researchers to track the health and development of Pokémon populations across entire regions. The Pokémon League Championship system, with its elaborate network of gym leaders and Elite Four members, functions as both entertainment and early warning system. These skilled trainers, positioned throughout each region, serve as guardians against the kind of exploitation and abuse that led to the Great Conflict. Their public battles demonstrate the highest ideals of Pokémon training, while their private duties involve investigating reports of mistreatment and ensuring that the bonds between humans and Pokémon remain based on mutual respect rather than domination. The champion title itself carries with it responsibilities that go far beyond public recognition, including access to classified information about threats to Pokemon welfare and the authority to intervene in situations where ordinary law enforcement lacks the expertise or jurisdiction to act effectively. The economic systems that support modern Pokemon training also bear the invisible marks of the war's lessons. The careful regulation of Pokemon related commerce, the emphasis on ethical breeding practices, the prohibition against certain types of genetic modification, all of these policies stem from a hard won understanding of how quickly the commodification of Pokemon can lead to their exploitation. The thriving market for Pokemon accessories and care products exists within a framework designed to ensure that profit motives never override welfare considerations, with oversight mechanisms that can trace their origins to the research networks that formed during the conflict's final stages. Even the geography of the Pokemon world bears subtle testimony to the war's impact. Certain routes between cities follow paths that were originally evacuation corridors, designed to allow rapid movement of civilians and their Pokemon partners away from combat zones. Some of the most beautiful natural areas in each region are actually restoration sites, places where the landscape was so damaged by the conflict that it had to be completely rebuilt using a combination of human engineering and Pokemon abilities. These areas now serve as nature preserves, protected not just for their beauty, but as living reminders of what can be lost when the partnership between humans and Pokemon is corrupted by conflict. The cultural traditions surrounding Pokemon training, from the informal customs of trainer etiquette to the formal ceremonies that mark important milestones in a trainer's journey, all carry within them elements designed to reinforce the lessons of the war without explicitly referencing its existence. The emphasis on patience and training, the celebration of bonds formed through mutual understanding rather than dominance, the ritual exchanges of friendship that occur when trainers meet and battle, these practices serve as a form of collective therapy, constantly reinforcing behaviors and attitudes that make future conflicts less likely while helping to heal the psychological wounds that still linger in the deepest layers of human and Pokemon consciousness. The medical systems that care for both trainers and Pokemon today operate with protocols that seem almost impossibly comprehensive to those who don't understand their historical foundations. Every Pokemon Center's ability to provide immediate, expert care regardless of species or injury severity stems from techniques developed under the extreme pressures of wartime, when field medics had to treat everything from minor training injuries to the devastating effects of weaponized Pokemon abilities. The standardization of healing procedures across all regions, the universal availability of advanced medical equipment, the extensive cross-training that allows any Pokemon Center nurse to handle emergencies involving even the rarest species. These capabilities were forged in field hospitals, where the difference between life and death often came down to seconds of preparation time and the ability to adapt healing techniques across vastly different physiologies. The psychological support systems embedded within these medical networks reflect an even deeper understanding of trauma's lasting effects. The gentle, unhurried atmosphere of every Pokemon Center, The emphasis on creating spaces where both humans and Pokemon feel completely safe, the training that every medical professional receives in recognizing signs of abuse or exploitation. These elements serve multiple purposes beyond their obvious healing functions. They create environments where the lingering psychological effects of the conflict can be gradually processed and resolved, often without the patients themselves being consciously aware that healing is taking place on levels far deeper than the physical. Research into Pokemon psychology and behavior, which today forms the foundation for all ethical training practices, emerged from desperate attempts during the war to understand how the conflict was affecting Pokemon mental health and social structures. Scientists working in hidden laboratories, often while under threat themselves, made breakthrough discoveries about Pokemon emotional needs, communication patterns, and the complex ways that different species process trauma and stress. This research revealed that many Pokemon were suffering not just from physical injuries, but from a form of collective psychological damage that threatened to permanently alter their relationships with humans and with each other. The development of techniques for healing these psychological wounds led to insights that revolutionized the understanding of human Pokemon bonds. Researchers discovered that the emotional connection between trainer and Pokemon operates on frequencies and through mechanisms far more sophisticated than previously imagined, and that damage to these connections could have cascading effects that influenced everything from a Pokemon's ability to learn new moves to their willingness to reproduce and care for offspring. The therapeutic approaches developed during this period, refined and adapted over the decades that followed, now form the invisible foundation of every successful training relationship, though most trainers remain unaware of the scientific principles underlying their intuitive understanding of their partner's needs. The educational systems that prepare new trainers for their journeys carry forward this accumulated wisdom through curricula that seem deceptively simple, but actually represent the distillation of countless hard learned lessons. The emphasis on starting with basic care and companionship before moving to more advanced training techniques mirrors the rehabilitation programs developed for Pokemon who had been traumatized during the conflict. The patient progression through increasingly complex challenges, the celebration of small victories, the constant reinforcement of trust and mutual respect. These pedagogical approaches were originally designed to help damaged relationships heal, but proved so effective that they became the standard for all trainer education. The storytelling traditions that surround Pokemon training, from the legends passed down by elderly trainers to the informal tales shared around campfires during long journeys, serve as repositories of collective memory that preserve crucial knowledge without triggering the painful associations that direct historical accounts might evoke. These stories, often featuring archetypal conflicts between trainers who respect their Pokemon and those who seek to exploit them, provide moral guidance while simultaneously processing the emotional residue of actual events that cannot be directly discussed. The recurring themes of redemption, forgiveness, and the power of genuine partnership to overcome seemingly impossible obstacles reflect the real experiences of those who lived through the conflict and emerged with their faith in human Pokemon cooperation, intact. The economic structures that govern Pokemon related industries today incorporate safeguards and oversight mechanisms that can seem puzzling to those who don't understand their historical necessity. The complex licensing requirements for Pokemon breeders, the extensive background checks required for certain types of research, the strict limitations on the export and import of Pokemon across regional boundaries. These regulations exist because the war demonstrated how quickly legitimate scientific and commercial activities could be perverted into tools of exploitation and conflict. The bureaucratic complexity that sometimes frustrates modern trainers serves as an immune system against the kinds of systematic abuses that once threatened to destroy the foundation of human Pokemon civilization. The technological innovations that make modern Pokemon training possible, from the sophisticated monitoring systems in Pokéballs to the global communication networks that connect Pokemon Centers, emerged from urgent wartime needs for better ways to protect and care for Pokemon under extreme circumstances. The miniaturization technology that allows Pokemon to be safely transported was originally developed to evacuate injured or vulnerable Pokemon from combat zones. The global positioning and tracking systems that help trainers navigate safely through wilderness areas were adapted from networks used to coordinate rescue operations and supply deliveries to isolated communities during the conflict. Even the entertainment industries that celebrate Pokemon culture carry forward the war's influence in subtle but important ways. The contests and competitions that showcase Pokemon abilities always emphasize cooperation and mutual achievement rather than dominance or exploitation. The media representations of Pokemon training consistently reinforce messages about respect, patience, and the importance of understanding each Pokemon as an individual with their own personality and needs. These cultural products serve as continuous reinforcement of the values that emerged from the conflict's resolution, helping to ensure that each new generation of trainers absorbs these principles as naturally as they learn to walk or speak. The spiritual and philosophical dimensions of Pokemon training, which many consider the most profound aspects of the partnership between species, were deepened and enriched by the collective processing of the war's meaning and implications. The meditation practices that many trainers adopt, the emphasis on mindfulness and present moment awareness in training techniques, the understanding of Pokemon training as a path of mutual growth and enlightenment. These approaches emerged from the recognition that the conflict had revealed fundamental truths about consciousness, connection, and the responsibility that comes with the power to influence other beings' lives. The war forced both humans and Pokemon to confront questions about the nature of partnership, freedom, and ethical responsibility that continue to shape the deepest levels of trainer philosophy today. As night settles over the Pokemon world, in training facilities and homes across every region, the daily routines of care and companionship continue patterns that were established in the aftermath of a conflict most have forgotten. The gentle sounds of Pokemon settling into sleep, the quiet conversations between trainers and their partners, the peaceful rhythms of a world at rest. All of these carry forward the hard-won peace that emerged from humanity's darkest chapter, a peace maintained not through force or fear, but through the countless small acts of love, respect, and understanding that define every healthy relationship between human and Pokemon, creating a living monument to the possibility of healing and the enduring power of genuine partnership to overcome even the deepest wounds of history. The archives buried deepest within the League's most secure vaults contain records that speak to the psychological aftermath of the war, documents that reveal how profoundly the conflict changed not just policies and practices, but the very way humans and Pokemon understand consciousness itself. Research conducted in the immediate post war years discovered that many Pokemon who had experienced the conflict had displayed what researchers would later term empathic resonance syndrome and heightened sensitivity to human emotional states that seemed to transcend normal psychic abilities. Pokemon who had never shown telepathic tendencies began responding to their trainers' unspoken fears and anxieties with remarkable precision. This phenomenon led to breakthroughs in understanding the quantum entanglement theories that govern psychic type abilities, but more importantly, it revealed that the bonds formed between humans and Pokemon during times of extreme stress created permanent neural pathways that enhanced communication between species in ways that science still struggles to fully comprehend. The therapeutic applications of these enhanced bonds became one of the most significant developments in post war reconstruction. Pokemon who had survived the conflict proved remarkably effective at helping traumatized humans process their experiences, while humans who had learned to communicate with Pokemon during the war's chaos became instrumental in rehabilitating Pokemon suffering from what would now be recognized as post traumatic stress responses. The healing centers established during this period developed techniques that combined traditional human therapy with Pokemon assisted counseling, creating treatment modalities that remain the foundation of modern psychological care throughout the Pokemon world. These centers, many of which still operate today under different names, were where the first formal studies of human Pokemon emotional bonding were conducted, research that would eventually lead to the development of the empathy-based training methods that characterize modern Pokemon partnership. The economic transformation that followed the war's end reflected a fundamental shift in how society valued different types of work and contribution. Industries that had profited from Pokemon exploitation found their business models suddenly obsolete, not through legal prohibition, but through social transformation that made such practices culturally unthinkable. The massive reconstruction efforts required new forms of human Pokemon cooperation that emphasized voluntary participation and mutual benefit. Construction projects that might have once relied on forced Pokemon labor instead became collaborative endeavors where Pokemon partners worked alongside humans as equal contributors, sharing in both the effort and the rewards of rebuilding their communities. The agricultural innovations of this period established farming practices that treated Pokemon as partners in cultivation rather than tools for production, leading to sustainable techniques that enhanced rather than depleted natural ecosystems. The educational systems that emerged during Reconstruction reflected hard-learned lessons about the importance of teaching empathy and ethical reasoning alongside practical skills. The curriculum reforms implemented across all regions introduced mandatory courses in Pokemon psychology, interspecies communication, and what educators termed partnership ethics. Children learned not just how to train Pokemon effectively, but how to recognize signs of distress, how to respect boundaries, and how to build relationships based on mutual trust rather than dominance. These educational approaches produced the first generation of trainers who had never known a world where Pokemon were treated as mere tools, creating a cultural foundation that made the values of the post-war era feel natural and inevitable rather than imposed from above. The religious and spiritual communities across all regions underwent profound theological reconsiderations during the post-war period. Ancient texts were re-examined through new lenses of understanding about Pokemon consciousness and dignity. Creation myths that had once portrayed Pokemon as beings created to serve humanity were reinterpreted to emphasize themes of interdependence and mutual responsibility. New spiritual practices emerged that incorporated Pokemon as equal participants in worship and meditation, leading to the development of interfaith communities where humans and Pokemon engage together in seeking meaning and transcendence. The pilgrimage routes that connect sacred sites across regions were redesigned to accommodate the needs of both species, with rest stops and sacred spaces that honored the spiritual lives of Pokemon as well as humans. The technological innovations born from wartime necessity continued to evolve in peaceful directions, but always with careful consideration of their impact on Pokemon welfare. The communication devices that had been developed to coordinate rescue operations became the foundation for the translation technologies that allow trainers and Pokemon to communicate with unprecedented clarity. The medical advances that had saved countless lives during the conflict led to breakthroughs in Pokemon healthcare that extended lifespans and improved quality of life for both wild and partnered Pokemon. The energy systems that had powered emergency operations evolved into the sustainable power grids that now provide clean energy throughout the Pokemon world, systems that harness natural Pokemon abilities through voluntary cooperation rather than exploitation. The artistic renaissance that bloomed in the war's aftermath produced cultural works of unprecedented beauty and depth. Musicians learned to compose symphonies that incorporated the natural sounds and rhythms of Pokemon communication, creating musical forms that spoke to both species simultaneously. Visual artists developed new techniques for capturing the emotional landscapes of interspecies relationships, producing paintings and sculptures that conveyed the profound bonds possible between humans and Pokemon. Writers crafted stories that explored the inner lives of Pokemon with sensitivity and imagination, helping humans understand perspectives that had previously been invisible to them. These artistic works served not merely as entertainment, but as ongoing education in empathy, continuously expanding society's capacity for understanding and connection across species lines. The legal frameworks established during Reconstruction created precedents that continue to shape jurisprudence throughout the Pokemon world. Courts developed new categories of rights that recognized Pokemon as beings with inherent dignity and agency, while still acknowledging the unique nature of human-Pokemon partnerships. The concept of consensual partnership became the legal foundation for all trainer relationships, requiring demonstrable evidence that Pokemon had chosen their partnerships freely and continued to participate willingly. These legal innovations influenced international law as well, establishing principles of interspecies justice that governed trade, research, and diplomatic relations between regions. The research institutions, founded during the Reconstruction period, approached the study of Pokemon with unprecedented ethical rigor. Scientific inquiry was restructured around principles of respectful observation and voluntary participation, abandoning research methods that treated Pokemon as subjects to be manipulated rather than partners in the pursuit of knowledge. These ethical standards led to remarkable discoveries about Pokemon intelligence, emotion, and social structures that had been impossible to observe when research relied on coercive methods. The knowledge gained through these respectful approaches revolutionized understanding of Pokemon biology, psychology, and ecology, providing the scientific foundation for the partnership-based training methods that became standard throughout the world. As the decades passed, the children who grew up in this transformed world began to take leadership roles in their communities, bringing with them values and perspectives that had been shaped entirely by the post-war ethos of cooperation and mutual respect. These leaders implemented policies and practices that further strengthened the bonds between species, creating positive feedback loops that reinforced the cultural transformation. The world they built was one where the idea of exploiting Pokemon seemed not just wrong but incomprehensible, where partnership and mutual growth were understood as the natural order of things. In the quiet moments of each day, when trainers and their Pokemon partners share simple pleasures, a meal together, a walk through peaceful forests, the comfort of companionship during sleep, they participate unknowingly in the ongoing legacy of that transformative conflict, living proof that even the deepest wounds can heal when met with genuine commitment to understanding, respect, and love. The healing process extended far beyond formal institutions and policies, reaching into the most intimate aspects of daily life between humans and Pokemon. In homes across every region, new rituals emerged that honored the partnership between species. Families began incorporating Pokemon voices into household decisions, developing communication methods that allowed their partners to express preferences about everything from meal choices to living arrangements. Children learned to interpret the subtle signals that indicated a Pokemon's comfort or discomfort, developing an intuitive understanding of consent that would have been unimaginable in the pre-war era. These domestic practices created a foundation of mutual respect that rippled outward into all aspects of society, establishing patterns of interaction that became so natural they were rarely questioned by those who had never known any other way of being. The agricultural revolution that followed the conflict transformed not only how food was produced, but how communities understood their relationship with the natural world. Pokemon became true partners in cultivation, their unique abilities applied not through command, but through collaborative planning that considered their own interests and well-being alongside human needs. Grass-type Pokemon worked alongside farmers to develop crop rotation systems that enriched the soil while providing the partners with environments that supported their own growth and happiness. Water types helped design irrigation systems that maintained healthy aquatic ecosystems while ensuring reliable water supplies for human communities. These partnerships produce not only more abundant harvests, but also more sustainable agricultural practices that enhanced rather than depleted the natural environment, creating a model of cooperation between civilization and nature that had previously seemed impossible. The transformation of competitive battling became one of the most visible symbols of the new era. What had once been contests of dominance evolved into celebrations of partnership, skill, and mutual achievement. Battle formats changed to emphasize collaboration between trainer and Pokemon, with scoring systems that rewarded evidence of trust, communication, and shared strategy rather than simple victory. Tournaments became festivals of partnership, where the strongest bonds between humans and Pokemon were celebrated as much as technical prowess. Spectators learned to appreciate the subtle interplay between partners, the moment of perfect understanding that allowed for complex coordinated moves, the trust that enabled a Pokemon to attempt techniques they had never tried before. These events became educational as well as entertaining, teaching audiences about the depths of intelligence and emotion that Pokemon possessed, further reinforcing the cultural shift toward respect and partnership. In the realm of exploration and discovery, the post war era ushered in unprecedented advances in understanding the natural world. Research expeditions became collaborative ventures where Pokemon served as both guides and partners in investigation, their sensory abilities and environmental knowledge providing insights that human researchers could never have achieved alone. Flying types mapped weather patterns and atmospheric conditions from perspectives impossible for human instruments to replicate. Ground types revealed geological formations and mineral deposits while helping researchers understand the deep structures of the Earth. Psychic types facilitated communication with wild Pokemon populations, allowing for behavioral studies that respected the autonomy of their subjects while gathering invaluable data about natural ecosystems. These collaborative research methods produced a renaissance of scientific discovery that enhanced human understanding while maintaining the integrity and freedom of the natural world. The architectural innovations of the Reconstruction period reflected the new understanding of shared spaces between humans and Pokemon. Cities were redesigned with the needs of both species in mind, incorporating natural elements that supported Pokemon well-being while creating more livable environments for humans as well. Buildings featured spaces specifically designed for different types of Pokemon partners, with consideration for their size, mobility, and environmental preferences. Public spaces included areas where Pokemon could engage in natural behaviors without restriction, creating urban environments that felt more like extensions of the natural world than impositions upon it. These design principles influenced private architecture as well, with homes incorporating features that acknowledged Pokemon as full members of the household rather than temporary guests or possessions. The educational philosophy that emerged during this period recognized that learning was most effective when it engaged both human and Pokemon intelligence. Schools developed curricula that included Pokemon perspectives on history, science, and social studies, acknowledging that their experiences and knowledge contributed valuable insights to human understanding. Students learned alongside their Pokemon partners, with lessons designed to challenge and engage both species simultaneously. This approach produced graduates who possessed not only traditional academic knowledge, but also deep skills in interspecies communication, empathy, and collaborative problem solving. The educational system became a model for other institutions, demonstrating how inclusion and partnership could enhance rather than compromise excellence and achievement. Medical advances during the Reconstruction era reflected the same collaborative spirit that transformed other aspects of society. Pokemon healers worked alongside human medical professionals, their natural healing abilities complementing technological and pharmaceutical interventions. Chansey and other healing type Pokemon became valued members of medical teams, their empathetic abilities helping to comfort patients while their healing powers accelerated recovery. Research into Pokemon healing methods led to breakthrough treatments for both humans and Pokemon, expanding the understanding of biology and medicine in ways that benefited all species. Hospitals and clinics became spaces of interspecies cooperation, where the goal of healing brought together the best abilities of all participants in the medical community. The economic systems that developed during this period reflected values of sustainability and mutual benefit rather than exploitation and extraction. Trade relationships between regions were restructured to ensure that all participants, including Pokemon populations, benefited from commercial activities. Industries developed practices that considered environmental impact and the well-being of local Pokemon communities as essential factors in business planning. The concept of profit was expanded to include measures of ecological health, community well-being, and interspecies harmony, creating economic indicators that reflected the true costs and benefits of commercial activities. These new economic models proved more resilient and sustainable than their predecessors, demonstrating that ethical considerations could enhance rather than hinder prosperity and growth. As generations passed, the stories told to children began to reflect the transformed world in which they lived. Folk tales and legends evolved to celebrate partnership and cooperation rather than conquest and dominance. Heroes in these stories were those who solved problems through understanding and collaboration, who found strength in their bonds with Pokemon partners rather than in their ability to control or command. These narratives shaped young minds to see partnership as natural and inevitable, creating cultural expectations that reinforced the social transformation. The mythology of the new era emphasized themes of mutual growth, shared adventure, and the strength that came from diversity and cooperation, providing children with role models and aspirations that aligned with the values of their transformed society. The quiet revolution in daily communication between humans and Pokemon represented perhaps the most profound change of all. Families developed unique languages of gesture, sound, and understanding that allowed for genuine conversation across species lines. These communication methods were not standardized, but emerged organically from the specific relationships and personalities involved, creating intimate bonds that were as individual as they were meaningful. Children who grew up in this environment developed an intuitive understanding of Pokemon communication that seemed almost telepathic to older generations, representing the emergence of a truly bilingual society where understanding flowed naturally in both directions. This enhanced communication ability became a cornerstone of the New World, enabling the deep partnerships that made all other transformations possible. In the evening hours, when the day's work was done and communities settled into peaceful rest, the legacy of transformation could be felt in the simple contentment that pervaded households throughout the Pokemon world. Partners of different species shared spaces in harmony, their relationships built on foundations of respect, understanding, and genuine affection that would have seemed impossible in the darker days before the Great Awakening. The scars of conflict had not disappeared entirely, but they had become part of a larger story of growth and healing, reminders of how far the world had traveled from those troubled times toward a future of unprecedented cooperation and mutual flourishing. And as the soft light of the moon filtered through windows, casting long, gentle shadows across homes, the sounds of the night were no longer punctuated by distant cries of battle or the subtle, anxious stirrings of mistrust. Instead, one might hear the gentle purr of a Meowth curled beside a sleeping child, the rhythmic breathing of a Snorlax serving as a living, comforting cushion, or the quiet, contented chattering of a Pidgey nesting safely in the eaves. These were the lullabies of a world reborn, a symphony of coexistence that whispered of peace and the enduring strength of shared bonds. The very landscape itself began to reflect this profound shift. Areas once scarred by destructive attacks or deliberately altered for strategic advantage slowly, patiently began to heal. Forests that had been burned regrew, nurtured by grass-type Pokemon and human caretakers working in concert, their combined efforts accelerating nature's own restorative processes. Rivers, once polluted by weapon manufacturing or the detritus of war, were purified by water-type Pokemon, their innate abilities gently cleansing the waters until they teemed once more with aquatic life. Mountainsides, previously mined for rare minerals to fuel conflict, were carefully reforested, their slopes becoming havens for diverse species, their peaks once again symbols of enduring natural grandeur rather than strategic high ground. New architectural styles emerged, blending seamlessly with natural environments. Buildings were designed not just for human comfort, but also to accommodate Pokemon partners, featuring integrated nesting sites, sunning ledges, and specialized access points that respected the unique needs and abilities of various species. Homes became true shared habitats, not merely human dwellings with Pokemon as pets, but sophisticated, symbiotic living spaces. This architectural evolution was a tangible manifestation of the deep philosophical change that had occurred, showcasing a world where the built environment was a testament to interspecies harmony rather than human dominion. The concept of wild Pokemon also underwent a nuanced redefinition. While vast wildernesses remained essential for biodiversity and ecological balance, the former sharp division between tamed and untamed softened. Instead, a spectrum of relationships emerged. Some Pokemon chose to live in close proximity to human settlements, becoming integral members of communities, contributing their unique abilities to daily life. Others preferred the freedom of the untouched wilds, but even these wild Pokemon were now understood as part of a larger, interconnected web of life that included humans. Encounters in these wild spaces were less about capture and more about respectful observation, occasional mutual aid, and the understanding that all beings held intrinsic value. The old notion of catching 'em all transformed from a quest for acquisition to a desire for understanding and connection with the full breadth of the Pokemon world's diverse inhabitants, respecting their autonomy and natural habitats. Education, too, was revolutionized. Schools integrated extensive curricula on Pokemon behavior, ecology, communication, and the history of interspecies relations. Children learned from a young age not just about human history and culture, but also about the histories and cultures of various Pokemon species, understanding their migratory patterns, their social structures, their unique forms of intelligence, and their contributions to the planet's ecosystems. Field trips involved immersive experiences in diverse habitats, guided by both human experts and knowledgeable Pokemon partners, fostering a deep, experiential understanding of the world's biological richness. The goal was not merely to impart knowledge, but to cultivate empathy, respect, and a profound sense of stewardship for all life. The concept of health and well-being expanded likewise. Pokémon Centers, once primarily facilities for treating injuries sustained in battle or from illness, evolved into comprehensive interspecies wellness clinics. They offered not only advanced medical care for both humans and Pokemon, but also behavioral counseling, nutritional guidance tailored to diverse species, and even shared recreational therapy programs. Healers, both human and Pokemon, worked side by side, combining ancient herbal remedies with cutting-edge technology and their deep understanding of physiological and psychological needs across species. The emphasis shifted from reactive treatment to proactive holistic well-being, recognizing that the health of one species was inextricably linked to the health of all. Even the competitive spirit, so prevalent in the pre-awakening era, found new constructive outlets. Pokemon battles, while still existing in some forms, transformed significantly. They became less about dominance and more about demonstrating the strength of partnership, the elegance of combined strategy, and the beauty of complementary abilities. Rules were introduced to prioritize the well-being of the Pokemon involved, emphasizing skill and cooperation over raw power or aggressive tactics. These competitions served as celebrations of interspecies teamwork, inspiring awe and respect for the diverse talents of all participants, rather than solely highlighting the prowess of a single trainer or Pokemon. The ultimate victory was no longer solely about winning a match, but about fostering mutual growth and showcasing the incredible potential of genuine partnership. The economic infrastructure that had once driven the world toward conflict was meticulously dismantled and rebuilt with sustainable practices at its core. Industries that relied on exploitation of resources or species were phased out, replaced by those focused on renewable energy, circular economies, and regenerative agriculture. Pokemon played crucial roles in these new industries, not as tools or labor, but as partners whose unique abilities were invaluable. Grass-type Pokemon helped cultivate nutrient-rich soils, Rock-type Pokemon assisted in shaping sustainable building materials, and Psychic-type Pokemon contributed to the efficient management of complex systems. This collaboration ensured that economic prosperity was achieved without compromising the ecological integrity of the planet, creating a stable and equitable foundation for future generations. Oh, the arts also flourished in this new era, reflecting the profound transformation of society. Music, painting, sculpture, and literature often explored themes of interspecies connection, the beauty of the natural world, and the journey from conflict to harmony. Artists, both human and Pokemon, collaborated on creative projects, producing works that transcended species barriers and communicated universal truths about love, loss, joy, and resilience. A symphony might feature the melodic calls of a chateau alongside human instruments. A sculpture might be painstakingly shaped by a human and a Machamp working in tandem, and stories were frequently told from multiple perspectives, offering insights into the rich inner lives of Pokemon. These artistic expressions served not only as entertainment, but also as powerful tools for reinforcing the values of the transformed world and preserving the memories of the journey undertaken. Even the legal and governmental structures adapted to this new paradigm. Laws were enacted that recognized the rights and intrinsic value of all Pokemon, establishing protections against harm and ensuring their well-being. Governance shifted from human-centric models to more inclusive forms that considered the needs and perspectives of diverse species within decision-making processes. Councils and assemblies included designated representatives who, with the aid of communication specialists, voiced the interests of different Pokemon populations. This broader participatory framework ensured that policies were comprehensive, equitable, and truly reflective of the interconnected reality of the world, moving beyond anthropocentric biases that had once dominated. The very air itself seemed to carry a different quality, a lightness, a sense of shared belonging that permeated every aspect of existence. The quiet hum of a harmonious society, built on the foundations of mutual respect and understanding, replaced the echoes of past anxieties. The world, once on the precipice of self-destruction, had found a path toward a sustainable and joyful future, not by forgetting its past, but by learning from its most painful lessons. The memory of the Pokemon War did not vanish entirely, but it became a cautionary tale, a whispered reminder of the darkness from which they had emerged, serving to underscore the preciousness of the peace they had painstakingly built. It was a story told not to instill fear, but to inspire gratitude and a commitment to perpetual vigilance, ensuring that such a profound betrayal of trust between species would never again be allowed to threaten the delicate balance of their shared world. And so, as the stars twinkled above, each one a distant sun, the Pokemon world settled into its nightly slumber, a testament to the enduring power of empathy, the quiet strength of collaboration, and the limitless potential for healing that lies within every heart, human, or Pokemon. The peace was not merely an absence of conflict, but a vibrant, living tapestry woven from countless threads of kindness, communication, and shared dreams. A profound quietude that spoke volumes of a future embraced with open paws and open hands. This tranquil state, however, was not achieved without immense effort and countless sacrifices. The scars of the past, though faded, were still etched into the very fabric of the land, visible to those who knew where to look. Ancient battlefields, now overgrown with lush vegetation, still held echoes of the clashes that once ravaged them. The very earth, in some places, seemed to remember the fiery breath of dragons and the seismic tremors of ground-type Pokémon locked in desperate combat. These were not places of sorrow, but rather of quiet contemplation, where the rustling leaves whispered tales of courage and resilience. Monuments, not of victory, but of remembrance, dotted the landscape, often simple cairns of stones or carefully cultivated groves of trees, each rock and leaf a silent testament to lives lost and the unwavering spirit of those who persevered. These weren't grand, imposing structures designed to glorify war, but rather humble markers integrated seamlessly into the natural world, fostering a sense of continuity and healing rather than dwelling on past grievances. Consider, for instance, the subtle cues embedded within the lore of certain Pokemon themselves. Take the enigmatic Spirit Omb, a Pokemon composed of 108 spirits bound to a hallowed tower by a mysterious keystone. Its Pokédex entries often speak of its mischievous or even malevolent nature, hinting at a past filled with unrest and the collective angst of many souls. Could these 108 spirits represent those lost in a terrible conflict, their restless energy forever bound to a physical manifestation, a poignant reminder of the war's enduring spiritual cost? The hallowed tower itself, a seemingly innocuous structure, might well be a forgotten memorial, a place where the lingering energy of a forgotten era coalesces, a silent monument to countless individual tragedies. Its very existence, a quiet unease in the background of everyday life, serves as a subtle yet powerful narrative thread, weaving the echoes of the past into the present. Then there are the legendary Pokemon, often depicted as arbiters of balance or creators of worlds. Their involvement, or even their absence during the war, could offer profound insights. Did Arceus, the supposed creator of all, observe the conflict with a heavy heart, perhaps even intervening in subtle ways to prevent total annihilation? Or did the sheer scale of the human Pokemon conflict overwhelm even its divine influence, forcing a different kind of evolution in the world? The legends surrounding these powerful beings often speak of periods of chaos and destruction, followed by eras of rebuilding and renewal, cycles that could easily encompass the rise and fall of the Pokemon War. Their stories, passed down through generations, often contain allegorical truths, veiled references to historical events that shaped the world in profound ways, even if the direct mention of a war is omitted. The shifting landscapes, the creation of new islands, the channeling of rivers, these grand narratives, often attributed to legendary Pokemon, could very well be poetic retellings of events directly influenced by the cataclysmic scale of the conflict. Even the architecture found in older towns and cities offers silent testimony. The robust, fortified walls of certain settlements, the strategic placement of watchtowers, and the intricate tunnel systems that lie beneath some urban areas. These are not merely aesthetic choices. They speak of a time when defense was paramount, when communities needed to protect themselves from external threats, whether those threats were other human factions, rogue Pokemon, or the sheer destructive force unleashed by widespread conflict. These architectural remnants are like fossilized memories, solid structures that whisper of a past where security was a constant concern, where survival often depended on vigilance and preparedness. The very foundations of these ancient settlements are steeped in a history of both construction and destruction, a delicate balance between creation and the need to protect against its undoing. Consider also the phenomenon of fossil Pokemon. While often presented as ancient creatures revived through scientific means, their very existence as fossils speaks to a past where life was perhaps more precarious, where extinction events were more frequent, or where powerful forces could wipe out entire species. Could some of these extinctions have been accelerated or even caused by the environmental devastation wrought by the war? The sheer scale of destruction mentioned in some Pokedex entries for ancient Pokemon hints at cataclysms that go beyond natural disasters. The revival of these Pokemon, a testament to scientific ingenuity, also serves as a subtle reminder of what was lost, a tangible connection to a forgotten past, a quiet echo of the delicate balance of life that can be so easily disrupted. The evolution of combat styles and strategies within Pokemon battling itself also provides a subtle narrative. Early on, battles might have been more brutal, less regulated, driven by necessity rather than sport. The development of intricate strategies, the focus on type advantages, and the emphasis on training and bonding with Pokemon rather than simply overpowering them could be seen as a direct consequence of learning from the destructive potential of uncontrolled conflict. The modern Pokemon League, with its rules and regulations, its emphasis on sportsmanship and mutual respect, represents a deliberate move away from the chaotic and destructive battles of the past. It's a formalized, almost ritualized expression of conflict, designed to channel competitive energy in a way that is safe, constructive, and ultimately celebratory of the bond between trainer and Pokemon. The very act of battling, once a life or death struggle, has been transformed into a form of art, a demonstration of skill and partnership, a testament to the world's commitment to peaceful resolution and controlled competition. Even the prevalence of healing items and Pokemon Centers throughout the world is a quiet acknowledgement of the fragility of life and the necessity of care. In a world without widespread conflict, would such ubiquitous and accessible medical infrastructure be quite so essential? The presence of these vital services, seamlessly integrated into every town and city, speaks to a collective societal understanding of the importance of healing, recovery, and the well-being of all living creatures. It's a foundational element of their society, a constant, gentle reminder that even in times of peace, the capacity for harm exists, and that care and compassion are always necessary. The very act of visiting a Pokemon Center, a routine part of any journey, is a subtle ritual of renewal, a quiet reinforcement of the world's commitment to mending what is broken, both physically and metaphorically. Consider the role of the gym leaders and Elite Four. While they are presented as powerful trainers who test a challenger's skill, their very existence as pillars of the community, often acting as mentors and protectors, could be a lingering echo of a time when strong leaders were crucial for maintaining order and stability. Their strength was not just for show, but for safeguarding their respective regions, a quiet guardianship that speaks to a societal need for protection and guidance. Their challenges, while competitive, are also designed to foster growth and discipline, qualities that would have been essential in rebuilding a fractured world. The structure of the Pokemon League, therefore, is not just a game, it's a societal institution, a symbol of order and controlled progress, a gentle hand guiding new generations toward a future of respectful competition and shared purpose, far removed from the brutal, no holds barred conflicts of the past. The very concept of a Pokédex, a device designed to document and understand every known Pokémon, can be seen as an effort to catalog and comprehend the world in its entirety, a scientific endeavor born from a need to understand the vast diversity of life after a period of profound disruption. In a world recovering from conflict, knowledge and understanding would be paramount, not just for survival, but for rebuilding a sustainable future. The Pokédex is more than just an encyclopedia. It's a symbol of intellectual curiosity, a testament to the world's commitment to learning and evolving, to replacing ignorance with knowledge and fear with understanding. Each entry, each meticulously recorded detail, is a gentle act of reconciliation with the natural world, a quiet commitment to appreciating and preserving every unique species that inhabits their shared planet. And finally, the deep, almost spiritual bond between humans and Pokemon, a bond often highlighted as the core of the entire Pokemon experience, becomes even more poignant when viewed through the lens of a shared, traumatic past. This bond, forged in the crucible of conflict and cemented in the subsequent era of healing and cooperation, is not merely a superficial partnership. It is a profound, symbiotic relationship built on trust, empathy, and mutual respect, a living testament to the power of connection in overcoming adversity. It is this bond, more than any other artifact or legend, that truly encapsulates the lessons learned from the Pokemon War, a quiet, unwavering commitment to a future where species coexist in harmony, where understanding triumphs over prejudice, and where the shared journey of life is celebrated with every step, paw, or wing beat. The peace they enjoy is a living, breathing entity, nurtured by every act of kindness, every shared smile, every quiet moment of companionship between a human and their Pokemon, a silent, powerful promise whispered on the gentle breeze. This profound connection, this unspoken agreement to navigate the world together, serves as a constant, gentle reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring strength of unity. It is a bond that transcends simple utility, moving into the realm of shared experience and mutual growth, a true partnership that has reshaped landscapes and redefined societal norms. Consider the very architecture of their cities and towns, often built in harmony with nature, incorporating elements that allow Pokemon to thrive alongside humans. This careful integration, from open fields within city limits to specialized parks and reserves, suggests a deliberate effort to create an environment where all life forms can coexist peacefully, a stark contrast to the destructive impulses of a bygone era. Even the concept of Pokémon Centers, ubiquitous and welcoming havens for tired and injured Pokémon, speaks volumes about a society that values the well-being of these creatures as much of their own. These centers, staffed by dedicated individuals, are more than just medical facilities. They are symbols of care and compassion, offering solace and healing to all who seek it, regardless of species. They represent a fundamental shift in perspective, from viewing Pokemon as tools of war to cherished companions deserving of the utmost care and respect. The gentle hum of the healing machine, the soothing voice of Nurse Joy, the quiet rustle of leaves outside, all contribute to an atmosphere of profound tranquility and reassurance, a stark contrast to the cacophony of battle. And then there are the myths and legends, woven into the very fabric of their culture, often speaking of ancient conflicts and the interventions of powerful, sometimes benevolent, sometimes terrifying legendary Pokemon. These stories, passed down through generations, serve not just as bedtime tales, but as cautionary narratives, embedded with lessons about the consequences of unchecked power and the importance of balance. The tales of Arceus, the alpha Pokemon said to have shaped the very universe, or Dialga and Palkia, masters of time and space, remind them of forces far greater than themselves, urging humility and respect for the natural order. Similarly, the legends surrounding Zekrom and Reshiram, representing ideals and truths, often touch upon the destructive nature of ideological conflict, a subtle echo of the Pokemon War, where differing beliefs may have fueled the flames of discord. These legendary Pokemon, often depicted as having a profound impact on the world, are not merely fantastical beings. They are cultural touchstones, embodying the deepest fears and aspirations of humanity, reflecting a societal memory of immense power wielded for both creation and destruction. Their stories are a gentle whisper from the past, reminding the present generation of the delicate balance that must be maintained to preserve peace. Even the phenomenon of evolution, a cornerstone of the Pokemon world, can be seen through this lens of societal transformation and adaptation. The arduous journey of a trainer and their Pokemon, culminating in a powerful evolution, mirrors the journey of a society striving to overcome its past, to grow stronger and more resilient, to evolve into a more harmonious state. It's a process of growth, change, and ultimately improvement, reflecting a collective aspiration for a brighter future. The transformations, sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic, are a metaphor for the profound shifts in values and priorities that must have occurred in the wake of such a devastating conflict. This constant cycle of growth and change, observed in nature and emulated in the bond between trainer and Pokemon, is a quiet testament to the world's enduring capacity for renewal and progress. The very act of a Pokemon evolving is a moment of profound significance, a visual representation of overcoming limitations and embracing a new, more powerful form, much like a society striving to transcend its destructive past. It's a slow, deliberate process, mirroring the gradual healing and rebuilding that would have followed a widespread conflict. Consider also the educational systems, often emphasizing not just academic knowledge, but also practical skills in Pokemon care, battle strategy, and wilderness survival. Those curricula, designed to equip young people with the tools they need to navigate their world responsibly, subtly prepare them for a life of independence and self-reliance, qualities that would have been crucial in a world recovering from widespread disruption. The emphasis on resourcefulness and cooperation in these educational programs can be interpreted as a learned response to the necessities of survival and reconstruction. The gentle guidance of teachers, the encouragement to explore and learn, all contribute to a nurturing environment where young minds are shaped not just for intellectual pursuits, but for responsible citizenship within a world that values peace and understanding. The lessons learned extend beyond textbooks, encompassing empathy, patience, and the importance of community, all foundational elements for a society striving to maintain a fragile peace. The celebration of festivals and traditions across the various regions, each with its unique flavor and history, often centers around themes of harmony, gratitude, and the interconnectedness of life. These festive gatherings, bringing communities together in shared joy, serve as powerful affirmations of peace and unity, gentle counterpoints to the divisiveness of past conflicts. The vibrant colors, the joyous music, the shared meals, all are expressions of a society that cherishes its present tranquility and actively works to preserve it. These rituals are not just entertainment, they are living memories, gentle reminders of the values that bind them together, fostering a sense of belonging and shared purpose. They are a quiet defiance of the darkness of the past, a vibrant celebration of the light of the present. The gentle glow of lanterns during a night festival, the rhythmic drumming of a traditional dance, the shared laughter of children and adults. These are the threads that weave the fabric of a peaceful society, a tapestry of shared experiences that reinforces the bonds of community. Even the humble act of fishing, a common pastime in the Pokemon world, can be seen as a quiet meditation on patience and the abundance of nature, a gentle reminder of the simple joys that can be found in a world at peace. The tranquil waters, the subtle tug on the line, the anticipation of a catch, all contribute to an atmosphere of calm and reflection, a stark contrast to the urgency and desperation of a world at war. It's an activity that encourages a gentle connection with the natural world, a quiet appreciation for its rhythms and offerings, a stark departure from a time when resources might have been scarce and fiercely contested. The gentle lapping of waves against the shore, the distant cry of a wingle, the soft murmur of the breeze. These are the sounds of a world that has learned to slow down, to appreciate the quiet moments, to find solace in the simple act of being. The prevalence of healing items, from potions to revives, further underscores a societal focus on restoration and recovery. These items, readily available and widely used, symbolize a collective commitment to mending what is broken, to bringing back what has been lost. It's a gentle, persistent effort to counteract the forces of destruction, to nurture and sustain life in all its forms. The very existence of such items, commonplace and taken for granted, speaks to a deeply ingrained cultural value placed on healing and preservation, a quiet acknowledgement of the fragility of life and the importance of its renewal. The comforting glow of a super potion as it mends a Pokemon's wounds, the gentle sigh of relief as a revive, brings a fallen companion back to consciousness. These are subtle gestures of a society that has learned the hard lessons of loss and now prioritizes the restoration of vitality. And finally, the sheer diversity of Pokemon themselves, each with unique abilities and personalities, mirrors the diversity of life and the richness of their world. The appreciation and celebration of this diversity, from the smallest caterpie to the mightiest dragonite, reflects a societal shift towards acceptance and understanding, a gentle embrace of all that is different and unique. This celebration of distinctiveness, rather than a fear of it, is a profound testament to a world that has moved beyond the narrow mindedness and prejudice that can fuel conflict. The gentle rustle of leaves as a different Pokemon emerges from the tall grass, the surprised delight at discovering a new species, the patient efforts to understand its unique behaviors. These are all quiet acts of open mindedness and curiosity, traits that are essential for maintaining a long lasting peace. The intricate patterns on a butterfree's wings, the powerful roar of a tyranitar, the playful antics of a psyduck, all are part of the vibrant tapestry of life, cherished and respected, each contributing to the gentle harmony of a world that has learned to value every thread. The simple, profound act of encountering a new Pokemon and striving to understand it, to learn its ways and appreciate its unique place in the world, is a microcosm of the larger societal commitment to peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. This enduring curiosity, this gentle desire to connect with and understand all forms of life, is perhaps the most enduring legacy of the forgotten Pokemon War, a silent, powerful promise whispered on the gentle breeze, carried across vast landscapes, and echoed in the quiet moments of shared companionship between a human and their Pokemon, a testament to a world forever changed, forever striving for a gentle, lasting peace. This profound shift in societal values, this quiet revolution born from the ashes of a forgotten conflict, manifests in countless subtle ways throughout the Pokemon world, weaving itself into the very fabric of daily life, often unnoticed but always present. Consider for a moment the architectural choices prevalent in many Pokemon cities and towns. One might observe the prevalence of open, airy designs, the integration of natural elements into urban landscapes, and the careful preservation of green spaces. This isn't merely an aesthetic preference, it's a reflection of a deeper understanding that harmony with nature fosters inner peace and reduces urban friction. The gentle flow of water features within city squares, the careful placement of trees to provide shade and a sense of tranquility, the widespread use of natural materials like wood and stone. These are not accidental design choices. They are deliberate, conscious decisions aimed at creating environments that soothe the spirit, that encourage contemplation rather than agitation. The absence of imposing fortress like structures, the general lack of overt militaristic monuments in major cities, further underscores this gentle societal redirection away from conflict and towards communal well being. Even the very concept of a gym, while a place of battle, is framed as a test of skill and a journey of self improvement rather than a training ground for war. The gym leaders, far from being generals or warlords, are often respected community figures, mentors who guide young trainers, embodying the virtues of perseverance and sportsmanship. Their challenges, though competitive, are ultimately about growth and understanding, not dominance or destruction. The gentle chime of a victory bell after a hard fought battle, the respectful handshake between trainers, the exchange of a hard earned badge. These are rituals designed to reinforce positive values, to celebrate achievement without fostering animosity. Further still, the emphasis on education and knowledge dissemination across the Pokemon world speaks volumes about this ingrained desire for peace and progress. The numerous libraries, museums, and research facilities, such as the Grand Cinnabar Island Laboratory before its unfortunate destruction, or the bustling Pokemon Research Lab in Pallet Town, are not merely repositories of information. They are beacons of enlightenment. The meticulous documentation of Pokemon species, their habitats, behaviors, and abilities is a testament to a society that values understanding and scientific inquiry above all else. This pursuit of knowledge, driven by a deep seated curiosity, is a powerful antidote to ignorance and fear, both of which are fertile grounds for conflict. Children are encouraged from a young age to explore, to observe, and to learn about the world around them, guided by professors and experts who embody a spirit of gentle inquiry. The act of filling a Pokédex, far from being a mere collection task, represents a journey of discovery, a systematic effort to comprehend the vast and intricate web of life that surrounds them. Each entry written, each fact recorded, contributes to a collective understanding that fosters respect and appreciation for all creatures, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. This gentle, persistent accumulation of knowledge creates a shared foundation of understanding, making it more difficult for divisive ideologies or misinformation to take root. The quiet hum of computers in a research facility, the rustle of pages in a library, the patient explanations of a professor, these are the sounds of a society building a future based on wisdom, not on the folly of past conflicts. Even the very mechanics of Pokemon battles, while seemingly aggressive, are imbued with a subtle undercurrent of respect and restraint. Unlike real-world conflicts, Pokemon battles are rarely, if ever, fought to the death. A fainted Pokemon is simply incapacitated, not destroyed. The immediate availability of healing items and the widespread acceptance of Pokémon Centers, offering free and immediate care, underscore a fundamental societal commitment to the well-being of these creatures. The concept of fainting itself, rather than outright harm, is a brilliant narrative device that allows for conflict without irreversible damage. It transforms what could be a brutal struggle into a stylized competition, a test of strategy and bond, where the ultimate goal is not elimination, but rather the demonstration of skill and the strengthening of the trainer-Pokemon relationship. The gentle, almost ritualistic nature of these battles, with their clear rules and boundaries, stands in stark contrast to the chaotic and destructive nature of war. The respectful bow between trainers before a match, the congratulatory handshakes afterwards, even in defeat, reinforce a culture of sportsmanship and mutual respect. The gentle hum of a Pokéball as it recalls a fainted Pokémon, the comforting embrace of a trainer as they tend to their companion. These are moments that speak to a profound understanding of responsibility and care, qualities that are often casualties of war. The battles, in essence, serve as a controlled outlet for competitive urges, channeling them into a constructive framework that ultimately reinforces social cohesion rather than disrupting it. Furthermore, the emphasis on travel and exploration in the Pokemon world, The encouragement for young trainers to embark on journeys across regions also serves as a subtle yet powerful mechanism for fostering peace. By venturing beyond their immediate communities, trainers are exposed to diverse cultures, different ways of life, and a multitude of perspectives. This first-hand experience of the world, far from the confines of one's own biases, naturally broadens horizons and cultivates empathy. The gentle rhythm of walking through new towns, encountering different people, sampling local delicacies, and experiencing unique traditions slowly erodes narrow-mindedness and prejudice. The shared experiences of battling, trading, and collaborating with trainers from different regions naturally forge bonds of understanding and camaraderie. The quiet conversations around a campfire, sharing stories and experiences, transcend geographical and cultural divides. The gentle wind carrying the scent of a new region, the unfamiliar calls of different Pokémon, the subtle differences in architecture and local customs. All these sensory inputs contribute to a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world, making it harder to demonize or fear those who are different. The concept of regional variance of Pokemon, while a fascinating biological phenomenon, also serves as a gentle metaphor for human diversity, teaching that even familiar forms can adapt and evolve in unique ways, each equally valid and deserving of respect. This constant, gentle exposure to diversity, this continuous journey of discovery, is a powerful antidote to isolation and xenophobia, which are often the precursors to conflict. Consider, too, the role of Professor Oak and similar figures throughout the Pokemon world. These benevolent, often elderly scholars are not just researchers, they are gentle guides, mentors who initiate young trainers into the world with a sense of wonder and responsibility. Their wisdom, often dispensed with a kind smile and a thoughtful gaze, steers the next generation away from the pitfalls of arrogance and ignorance. They don't arm children with weapons, they equip them with knowledge and a starter Pokemon, a companion to share their journey. This symbolic act of entrusting a young person with a living creature rather than a tool of destruction sets a gentle tone for their entire adventure. The professor's initial lessons focus on care, observation, and respect for nature, instilling a moral compass that guides the trainer's interactions with the world. The gentle encouragement to catch 'em all is not a command for conquest, but an invitation to explore, to understand, and to build a diverse team, reflecting the value placed on varied perspectives and abilities. The quiet patience of a professor, explaining the nuances of a Pokemon's behavior, the gentle encouragement offered after a setback. These are the subtle lessons that shape character, fostering empathy and resilience. Their presence, as an ever-present gentle reminder of the importance of ethical conduct and scientific curiosity, serves as a soft, guiding hand for generations of trainers, ensuring that the lessons of the past, the lessons of conflict, are not forgotten, but are instead transformed into a foundation for a more peaceful future. Even the humble Pokémon Center, a ubiquitous and comforting presence in every town and city, embodies this post-conflict ethos. Its open doors, its welcoming nurses, and its promise of free, immediate healing for any Pokémon, regardless of who their trainer is or what battles they've fought, represent a profound societal commitment to universal care and unconditional aid. There are no questions asked, no judgments made, only gentle, restorative care. This institution, more than any other perhaps, symbolizes the world's collective decision to prioritize healing over all else. The soft glow of the recovery machines, the gentle hum of their operations, the kind smiles of the nurses, those create an atmosphere of profound tranquility and safety. It's a sanctuary, a place where all can find solace and renewal, a gentle reminder that even after the most intense battles, there's always a path to recovery. The act of entrusting one's beloved Pokemon to the care of a stranger with complete faith in their restorative abilities speaks to a deeply ingrained trust within society, a trust built on shared values of compassion and mutual support. The gentle chime that signifies a Pokemon's full recovery, the joyful reunion between trainer and companion, these are small, everyday miracles that reinforce the value of life and the power of healing, a quiet testament to a world that has chosen restoration over destruction. And then there's the quiet beauty of the natural world itself, revered and protected in the Pokemon universe. The sprawling forests, the serene lakes, the majestic mountains, these are not merely backdrops for adventures. They are living ecosystems, treated with a profound respect that borders on reverence. The numerous national parks, nature reserves, and protected areas are not just tourist attractions. They are sacred spaces, gentle cradles of biodiversity. The legends of powerful ancient Pokemon who act as guardians of nature, like the legendary Gruden or Kyogre, further reinforce this deep-seated respect for the delicate balance of the environment. The pervasive lore surrounding these legendary creatures speaks to a collective understanding of the immense power of nature and the wisdom in coexisting with it, rather than attempting to dominate it. The gentle rustle of leaves in Viridian Forest, the calm lapping of waves on a pristine beach, the silent majesty of a snow-capped peak, these natural wonders are preserved and cherished, not exploited. This gentle stewardship of the environment, this understanding that humanity is but one thread in the intricate tapestry of life, is another quiet legacy of the forgotten conflict. It suggests a learned humility, an acknowledgement that unchecked ambition and disregard for the natural world can lead to catastrophic consequences. The gentle wind whispering through tall grass, the sound of a distant waterfall, the sight of a wild Pokemon grazing peacefully. These are the everyday reminders of a world that has chosen to live in harmony with its surroundings, a world that has learned the gentle art of coexistence. Even the phenomenon of Pokemon evolution, a fundamental aspect of their biology, can be seen as a metaphor for societal transformation. The gentle, gradual process of a Pokemon adapting and changing, often becoming stronger and more complex, mirrors the societal evolution that must have occurred after the Pokemon War. It's a slow, often unseen process, a quiet unfolding of potential driven by experience and growth. A seemingly weak Caterpiece transforms into a beautiful Butterfree. A fiery Charmander grows into a powerful Charizard. This inherent capacity for change, for improvement, for growth from humble beginnings, reflects a societal belief in progress and the ability to overcome past hardships. The gentle glow that accompanies an evolution, the sense of wonder and accomplishment, speaks to a profound optimism about the future. It's a quiet celebration of potential realized, of challenges overcome, and of the continuous journey of self improvement. The very act of a trainer nurturing their Pokemon, helping it to reach its full potential, reinforces the idea that guidance, support, and patience can lead to remarkable transformations. This gentle, persistent belief in growth and metamorphosis, mirroring the quiet resilience of life itself, is yet another testament to a world that has learned to embrace change as a pathway to a better, more peaceful existence. The soft light of evolution, illuminating the path forward, is a gentle, ever present promise of a brighter tomorrow. And within this tapestry of transformation, the concept of Pokemon Centers themselves emerges as a powerful symbol, a quiet testament to the enduring spirit of healing and reconciliation. These ubiquitous havens, found in every town and city, offer a universal embrace, a gentle promise of restoration to any Pokemon, regardless of its origin or its trainer's affiliation. There are no questions asked, no judgments made, only the quiet hum of machinery and the gentle, reassuring presence of Nurse Joy. This unwavering commitment to healing, to mending wounds both visible and invisible, speaks volumes about a society that has learned the profound importance of compassion and collective well-being. Imagine for a moment a world scarred by conflict, where the very creatures that possess such immense power were once wielded as instruments of destruction. The establishment of these centers, funded and maintained by an overarching authority, signifies a societal pact, a silent agreement to prioritize recovery over vengeance, to nurture life rather than extinguish it. The gentle glow emanating from the healing machines, the soft beeping sounds, the comforting scent of antiseptic, all contribute to an atmosphere of peace and renewal. It is a place where battle-worn Pokemon, exhausted and injured, can find solace and strength, ready to face another day. This universal access to healing, free of charge, points to a deeply ingrained social welfare system, a core value system that places the welfare of all living beings above economic considerations. It suggests a society that understands that true strength lies not in domination, but in empathy and mutual support. The quiet efficiency of the Pokemon Center, the gentle professionalism of Nurse Joy and her Chansey or Blissey embodies this ethos. There's no fanfare, no grand pronouncements, just the steady, unwavering dedication to their gentle craft. This dedication to healing, extended unconditionally, becomes a quiet metaphor for the healing of a society itself, a slow, painstaking process of mending the breaches caused by past conflicts. The very existence of these centers, dotting the landscape like gentle beacons of hope, reminds us that even after the darkest of times, recovery is possible and compassion can pave the way for a brighter future. It's a quiet, understated miracle, repeated countless times a day, in every region, a constant affirmation of life's preciousness. And then there's the figure of the Pokemon professor, a gentle guiding light in the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. These esteemed individuals, often found in quaint laboratories filled with books and gentle bubbling beakers, dedicate their lives to studying Pokemon, not for exploitation, but for pure scientific inquiry and the advancement of understanding. Professor Oak, Professor Elm, Professor Birch, each a quiet beacon of intellect and curiosity. Their gentle encouragement to young trainers, their unwavering belief in the potential of both humans and Pokemon, speaks to a society that values education and enlightenment above all else. They are the keepers of knowledge, the gentle interpreters of the natural world, striving to unravel its mysteries with patience and respect. The act of completing the Pokédex, a monumental task of observation and documentation, is not merely a game mechanic, it's a profound act of scientific exploration. It represents a collective effort to understand every species, to catalog their behaviors, their habitats, their strengths and weaknesses. This exhaustive effort, spanning generations, reflects a societal commitment to knowledge for its own sake, a gentle curiosity that seeks to understand the world in all its intricate detail. The gentle murmur of a professor's voice explaining a new discovery, the quiet rustle of research papers, the soft clinking of scientific instruments, all contribute to an atmosphere of intellectual pursuit and peaceful learning. They are the antithesis of the conflict, the quiet scholars who seek to build bridges of understanding rather than walls of division. Their passion for Pokemon, their gentle respect for every creature, from the smallest Caterpie to the mightiest legendary, sets a powerful example. It's a quiet testament to the power of observation, of patience, and of the profound joy that comes from simply understanding. The gentle guidance they offer to young trainers, providing them with their first Pokemon and a Pokédex, is a symbolic passing of the torch, a gentle invitation to join the journey of discovery. It's a quiet investment in the future, a hope that the next generation will continue to explore, to learn, and to appreciate the wonders of the world around them, always with a gentle heart and an inquisitive mind. The very existence of these academic institutions and their gentle, dedicated leaders suggests a profound societal shift, a turning away from the destructive instincts of the past towards a future built on knowledge, respect, and peaceful coexistence. It's a gentle, reassuring presence that reminds us that even after great upheaval, the pursuit of truth and understanding remains a constant and comforting endeavor. Consider also the phenomenon of Pokemon contests and showcases, a vibrant yet gentle expression of beauty, skill, and artistry. These events, far removed from the harsh realities of battle, celebrate the aesthetic qualities of Pokemon and the gentle bond between trainer and companion. The dazzling lights, the carefully choreographed movements, the gentle applause of the audience, all create an atmosphere of joyful celebration. It's a quiet testament to the human spirit's need for expression, for beauty, and for the recognition of individual talent. These contests offer an alternative to the competitive intensity of gym battles, providing a space for different kinds of skills to shine. A Pokemon's grace, its charm, its cleverness, its cuteness, these are the qualities that are gently highlighted and applauded. The gentle ripple of a melodic scales, the playful dance of a Jigglypuff, the elegant pirouette of a Roserade. These moments of gentle artistry enrich the lives of both trainers and spectators. The quiet dedication required to train a Pokemon for a contest, the hours spent perfecting a move, the gentle grooming and care, all speak to a profound appreciation for the Pokemon as an individual, a partner in a shared creative endeavor. It's a form of gentle collaboration where the trainer seeks to bring out the natural beauty and talent of their Pokemon rather than simply harnessing its power for victory. This emphasis on mutual understanding and gentle cooperation stands in stark contrast to the adversarial nature of war. It suggests a society that has learned to value diverse forms of expression, to appreciate the gentle nuances of performance, and to celebrate the unique qualities of every creature. The gentle murmur of an excited crowd, the soft glow of stage lights, the quiet joy of a well executed performance. These elements combine to create a peaceful and uplifting experience. It's a quiet affirmation of life's gentle pleasures, a reminder that there is beauty to be found in every corner of the world, and that shared joy can be a powerful force for unity. The very existence of these gentle competitions, fostering creativity and camaraderie, is another subtle indicator of a society that has moved beyond conflict, embracing instead the gentle art of shared celebration and mutual admiration. It's a quiet, colorful thread in the larger tapestry of peace. And what of the gentle evolution of technology within the Pokemon world? While undeniably advanced, it consistently prioritizes ethical considerations and the well being of Pokemon. The Pokedex itself, a sophisticated device for data collection, is used not for surveillance or control, but for peaceful scientific documentation. Pokeballs, marvels of miniaturization and energy manipulation, gently encapsulate Pokemon without causing them harm, providing a safe and comfortable space for rest and travel. Even tools for battle, like TMs and HMs, serve to expand a Pokemon's natural abilities, to gently guide their growth, rather than to force unnatural transformations. There are no devastating superweapons, no widespread destructive technologies, despite the obvious potential for such development given the existence of incredibly powerful legendary Pokemon. This restraint, this gentle self-limitation in technological advancement, speaks volumes about a society that has learned from the past. It suggests a collective decision to harness technology for good, for the betterment of life, rather than for its destruction. The quiet whir of a healing machine, the gentle click of a Pokéball, the soft glow of a data screen, these are the sounds of technology in the Pokemon world, sounds of service and support, not of aggression. It's a technology that serves life, gently assisting and enhancing rather than threatening or dominating. The gentle integration of technology into daily life, from communication devices to transportation systems, is always mindful of the natural world and the creatures that inhabit it. There are no vast, sprawling industrial complexes polluting the landscape. Instead, cities are often nestled gently within nature, coexisting harmoniously with the wild. This gentle, responsible approach to technological development stands as a stark contrast to societies driven by unchecked ambition and the pursuit of power at any cost. It reflects a deep-seated understanding that true progress lies not in accumulation of destructive power, but in the intelligent and ethical application of knowledge for the benefit of all. The quiet hum of a carefully designed device, the gentle efficiency of a well-crafted tool, these are the subtle reminders of a technological philosophy born from experience, a gentle wisdom that chooses preservation over destruction and cooperation over conflict. It's a quiet testament to a world that has learned to wield its creations with care and respect, always with a gentle hand. Even the architecture of the Pokemon world, from the quaint homes in small towns to the majestic gym buildings, reflects a gentle integration with the natural environment. Buildings often feature natural materials, soft, rounded edges, and ample windows that invite the outside in. There's a sense of openness and accessibility, a gentle invitation rather than an imposing declaration. The gentle flow of pathways through cities, often lined with trees and flowers, encourages walking and connection with the natural world. There are no imposing fortress like structures, no stark, brutalist monuments to power. Instead, there's a quiet comfort, an understated beauty that speaks to a desire for peace and harmony. The gentle slope of a roof, the warm glow of lamplight from a window, the soft texture of a stone wall. These details create an environment that feels lived in, cared for, and deeply connected to its surroundings. The very design of the Pokemon League, the pinnacle of competitive achievement, is often set amidst breathtaking natural landscapes, like the serene Indigo Plateau. This gentle juxtaposition of human endeavor and natural majesty suggests an acknowledgement that even in competition, the beauty and power of nature remain paramount. It's a gentle reminder that even the strongest trainers and Pokemon are still a part of a larger natural order. The quiet dignity of these structures, their gentle resilience against the passage of time, speaks to a society that values enduring quality and thoughtful design over fleeting trends or ostentatious displays. It's a gentle commitment to building in a way that respects the land and its inhabitants, a silent promise of stewardship. The gentle curves of a bridge over a river, the soft glow of a lighthouse against the night sky, the quiet strength of an ancient temple nestled in the mountains. These architectural elements contribute to a pervasive sense of calm and enduring peace. It's a gentle aesthetic that reflects a deeply ingrained desire for harmony, a quiet rejection of the harshness and discord of a forgotten past. This gentle, mindful approach to construction is another subtle yet powerful legacy of a world that has learned the importance of living softly upon the earth. And finally, the very nature of the Pokemon journey itself, undertaken by young trainers, embodies a gentle rite of passage, a journey of self-discovery and growth. It's not a militaristic training exercise, but a gentle exploration of the world, fostering independence, empathy, and respect for all life. The gentle guidance from parents and professors, the quiet camaraderie with fellow trainers, the profound bond formed with their Pokemon companions, all contribute to a formative experience rooted in positive values. The challenges encountered, from navigating a dense forest to overcoming a tough gym leader, are designed to build character and resilience, not to instill aggression or dominance. The gentle rustle of tall grass as a young trainer takes their first steps, the soft glow of sunset over a new town, the quiet satisfaction of a hard-earned victory. These moments define a journey that is fundamentally about personal development and connection. The gentle process of learning about different Pokemon, understanding their unique personalities and needs, teaches empathy and patience. The quiet responsibility of caring for a team of Pokemon, ensuring their health and happiness, instills a deep sense of commitment and care. It's a gentle apprenticeship in life, preparing young people not for war, but for a future of peaceful coexistence and meaningful contribution. The gentle encouragement from strangers along the way, the shared stories and experiences, build a sense of community and interconnectedness. It's a quiet testament to the enduring human spirit of mentorship and support. The gentle unfolding of a Pokemon's story as it grows and evolves alongside its trainer mirrors the trainer's own journey of self discovery and transformation. This gentle, organic process of maturation, guided by love and respect, is the very antithesis of the harsh realities of conflict. It's a quiet, hopeful vision for the future, a world where the next generation is raised not to fight, but to understand, to care, and to build a better, more harmonious world, one gentle step at a time. The gentle dreams of a young trainer gazing up at the stars with their Pokemon by their side are the quiet promises of a peaceful tomorrow, a world that has truly learned from the scars of its forgotten past. Yet beneath this tranquil surface, this carefully cultivated peace, there are whispers, shadows in the peripheral vision of the lore that hint at a different era, an era of profound upheaval, a time of conflict so immense that its echoes, though muted, still resonate through the very fabric of the Pokemon world. This is the story of the Pokemon War, not a war of human against human in the conventional sense, but a complex, multifaceted struggle that involved Pokemon and humans alike, leaving an indelible mark on the societal structures, technological advancements, and even the natural landscape we see today. The absence of overt military infrastructure in the modern Pokemon world is not an oversight, but a deliberate choice, a conscious turning away from a past that was likely fraught with devastating consequences. Consider first the region of Kanto, the setting for our earliest adventures. Its towns, though charming, often feel somewhat isolated, with vast stretches of wilderness between them. This could be interpreted as a practical response to the need for natural buffers, perhaps a lingering memory of a time when urban centers were vulnerable. The very existence of the Elite Four and the Champion, powerful trainers who stand as the ultimate challenge, could be seen not just as a sporting achievement, but as a symbolic remnant of a martial order, a tiered system designed to identify and elevate those with the greatest capacity for strategic thinking and leadership, skills that would be paramount in times of conflict. Their strength, while now used for exhibition and inspiration, might once have been a vital line of defense. Then there are the technological marvels, often presented as benign advancements. The Pokémon Centers, omnipresent and unfailingly efficient, capable of healing any Pokémon injury in mere moments. While seemingly a boon for trainers, their advanced medical capabilities, almost instantaneous and universally accessible, suggest a societal need for rapid recovery from widespread damage or injury. Was this technology developed solely for the everyday scrapes of training, or was it perfected during a time when injuries were far more severe and frequent, a desperate measure to keep the forces, both human and Pokemon, operational? The sheer scale and ubiquity of these centers hint at a past where such medical intervention was not just convenient, but absolutely essential for survival. Furthermore, the Pokéball itself, a seemingly innocuous device for capturing and storing Pokémon, possesses an extraordinary level of sophistication. Its ability to miniaturize and contain a living creature, to summon it at will, and to provide a comfortable, if temporary, habitat is nothing short of miraculous. Such advanced technology, capable of safely manipulating biological matter on such a fundamental level, could easily have been developed for purposes far more strategic than simply aiding in collection. Imagine the tactical advantage of being able to instantly deploy a powerful Pokemon or to recall a fatigued one in the midst of a chaotic battlefield. The evolution of the Pokéball from ancient devices like the apricorns to the sleek modern capsules mirrors a trajectory of increasing efficiency and reliability, a development driven perhaps by the urgent demands of a prolonged conflict. The very concept of a gym leader itself, a powerful individual who guards a specific locale and challenges trainers, could be a vestige of a time when these individuals were not just sports figures, but actual guardians, charged with protecting key strategic locations or resources. Their specialized Pokemon types and battle strategies, honed over years, would have made them formidable adversaries or powerful allies in a world where territory and resources were fiercely contested. The badges they award, often depicted as symbols of accomplishment, might once have been tokens of allegiance or rank within a larger organizational structure. And what of the Pokemon themselves? Many species possess abilities that are inherently destructive or defensive. Fire type Pokemon could unleash devastating infernos, water types could command powerful torrents, and ground types could reshape the very land. While now used in friendly competition, the raw power inherent in many Pokemon species is undeniable. The legendary Pokemon, often depicted as beings of immense power capable of shaping the world, could have played pivotal roles in such a conflict, either as forces of nature unleashed or as mythical guardians whose intervention swayed the tides of battle. The stories of these legendary Pokemon, often steeped in ancient lore and tales of creation or destruction, may be veiled accounts of their involvement in a past war. Consider the Pokemon Shedinja, a ghost bug type. Its unique ability, Wonder Guard, makes it immune to all attacks that are not super effective. This almost supernatural defense, while intriguing in a battle, also hints at an evolutionary pressure to develop extreme resilience. Was this an adaptation to survive a period of intense and widespread conflict where raw power was constantly being unleashed? Its empty shell, a hollow husk left behind when Nincada evolves into Ninjask, is a poignant reminder of something lost, something departed. This sense of emptiness and a unique, almost unnatural power could be a subtle nod to the devastating costs of the war, leaving behind indelible spiritual and physical scars. The existence of numerous abandoned structures, ruins, and caves throughout the Pokemon world also speaks volumes. Places like the Seafoam Islands, often depicted as desolate and challenging to navigate, or the numerous ancient ruins scattered across various regions, could be the remnants of cities or outposts that were destroyed or simply abandoned in the aftermath of a great war. The very landscape itself, with its jagged cliffs, deep ravines, and isolated plateaus, might have been shaped not just by natural geological processes, but by the cataclysmic forces unleashed during a period of intense struggle. The widespread presence of ghost-type Pokemon in certain areas, particularly abandoned buildings or graveyards, could be a lingering spiritual energy, the spectral echoes of those who perished in the forgotten conflict. The Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, a literal graveyard for Pokemon, is a somber reminder of loss and mourning, suggesting a past where countless Pokemon met their end, perhaps not always from natural causes. Even the Pokedex, our trusted companion and source of information, subtly hints at darker truths. Many Pokemon entries, when read carefully, describe abilities that are far from benign. Haunter, for instance, is said to lick its victims, causing them to shake uncontrollably until they die. Kadabra emits alpha waves that cause headaches and can even make people disappear. These are not merely fanciful descriptions, they allude to capabilities that in a time of war would be terrifyingly effective. The Pokedex, while generally presenting Pokemon in a positive light, does not shy away from detailing their destructive potential, a testament to the raw power that had to be reckoned with. The emphasis on trainers being able to tame or command their Pokemon takes on a new significance when viewed through the lens of a historical conflict, implying that such control was once not just a skill, but a necessity for survival. The pervasive theme of peace and harmony in the modern Pokemon world, so deeply ingrained in its culture and values, could itself be a reaction to a traumatic past. The emphasis on non lethal battles, the immediate healing of Pokemon, and the universal respect for all life forms are all principles that would be fiercely upheld by a society that had experienced the horrors of war and sought to prevent their recurrence. The very act of collecting and cataloging Pokemon, a seemingly innocent pursuit, could also be interpreted as a way of understanding and thus controlling the potential threats they posed, a scientific approach to preventing future conflicts by understanding the nature of the power they wielded. Furthermore, the character of Lieutenant Surge, the electric-type gym leader of Vermilion City, offers the most direct, albeit cryptic, evidence of this forgotten war. He openly speaks of his time in a war, stating that electric-type Pokemon saved his life on the battlefield. His tough demeanor and strategic mind are explicitly attributed to his wartime experiences. While the specific nature of this war is never fully elaborated upon, his testimony is a direct, undeniable link to a past where humans and Pokemon fought side by side in a conflict far more serious than any gym battle. His experiences, etched into his very being, serve as a stark reminder that the world wasn't always as peaceful and serene as it appears. He speaks of having to depend on electric-type Pokemon to survive, implying a level of danger and reliance that far exceeds the friendly rivalries of trainers. His gruff, no-nonsense attitude, while softened by his role as a gym leader, carries the weight of a past where life and death decisions were commonplace. The very concept of type advantages and resistances, fundamental to Pokemon battles, could also be a simplified, gamified reflection of real-world tactical considerations. In a war where Pokemon were deployed, understanding which types countered others would have been crucial for survival and victory. This intricate balance of strengths and weaknesses, now an enjoyable puzzle for trainers, might once have been a matter of life and death, honed through countless engagements. The strategic depth of Pokemon battles, often lauded by fans, could be a simulated echo of the profound strategic thinking required to navigate a real conflict involving these powerful creatures. The narrative of Team Rocket, the initial antagonists in the Kanto region, also offers some interesting parallels. Their ultimate goal, often described as exploiting Pokemon for profit or world domination, while undeniably villainous, also speaks to a desire for power and control. In a post war world where the memory of widespread destruction is still fresh, the rise of such an organization could be seen as a resurgence of the very ambitions that led to the conflict in the first place. Their methodologies, often involving the capture and forceful manipulations of Pokemon, are reminiscent of a militaristic approach, albeit on a smaller criminal scale. The efforts of young trainers to thwart Team Rocket's plans therefore become not just an adventure, but a symbolic defense of the hard-won peace, a reassertion of the values that emerged from the ashes of the Forgotten War. The very act of catching 'em all, a central tenet of the Pokemon world, could also be interpreted as a means of population control, a way to ensure that no single Pokemon species or group could again amass enough power to destabilize the world. By having a vast collection of Pokemon, trainers inadvertently contribute to a system where power is distributed and managed rather than concentrated and weaponized. The National Pokédex, with its comprehensive data on every known Pokemon, becomes not just a scientific record, but a historical archive of potential forces, a preventative measure against future threats. Thus, the Pokemon world, with its vibrant colors, friendly faces, and gentle journeys, carries within it the quiet scars of a past conflict, a war so profound that its lessons were absorbed into the very bedrock of society, leading to a deliberate and sustained effort to build a world where such devastation could never happen again. The peace we see, the harmony we experience, is not merely a given. It is a carefully constructed reality, a testament to the resilience of a world that learned to heal, to rebuild, and to remember, even as it chose to forget the explicit details of its most painful chapter. The gentle rustle of leaves in a peaceful forest, the soft murmur of a Pokémon Center, the quiet determination of a young trainer setting out on their journey. Those are all subtle tributes to a world that has consciously chosen a path of tranquility, a legacy forged in the crucible of conflict, now softened by the passage of time. A world that whispers of a war it erased, yet whose spirit still guides its every gentle breath. The very structure of the Pokemon League, with its gym challenges and Elite Four, can also be seen as a formalized, almost ritualized way of channeling latent, competitive energy away from destructive conflict. Instead of armies clashing, trainers test their mettle in controlled environments, their Pokemon battling not to conquer, but to prove skill and resolve. The badges earned are not symbols of territorial dominion, but rather marks of personal achievement, signifying mastery over specific types of Pokemon and tactical approaches. This system provides an outlet for ambition and a path to recognition, diverting the drive for power into a constructive, sporting arena. The champion, the ultimate victor of the league, holds a position of immense prestige, but their authority is largely symbolic, focused on inspiring future generations rather than wielding political or military might. This carefully curated system of competition fosters a sense of community and shared purpose, uniting diverse regions under a common passion for Pokemon battles, rather than allowing differences to fester into animosity. Consider the role of Professor Oak, and indeed all Pokemon professors across the various regions. Their tireless dedication to researching Pokemon, understanding their behaviors, and documenting their habitats serves a dual purpose. On the surface, it's pure scientific inquiry, expanding the collective knowledge of the world. But beneath that, there's a deeper, almost protective function. By meticulously cataloging and analyzing every aspect of Pokemon life, these professors are, in essence, maintaining a comprehensive database of potential forces. They understand the inherent power of Pokemon, not just in battle, but in shaping ecosystems and even influencing human societies. Their work, therefore, is a quiet form of preventative security, ensuring that humanity remains aware of the capabilities of the creatures they share their world with, preventing any unforeseen resurgence of power imbalances. The Pokédex, a marvel of technology entrusted to young trainers, becomes not just a tool for exploration, but a constant reminder of the incredible diversity and strength of Pokemon, prompting respect and understanding rather than fear or exploitation. The proliferation of Pokemon Centers, those ubiquitous havens of healing and restoration, also speaks volumes about the lingering lessons of the war. In a world where powerful creatures can engage in intense battles, injuries are inevitable. The immediate and universal availability of free, high quality medical care for Pokemon is a testament to the value placed on their well being. It's a societal commitment to repairing the damage of conflict, even on a small scale, ensuring that no Pokemon is left uncared for and that trainers are encouraged to prioritize the health of their partners above all else. This ubiquitous network of healing centers stands as a stark contrast to a world where resources might have been scarce and care limited, reflecting a conscious decision to invest in the welfare of all living beings, a direct counterpoint to the suffering and neglect that often accompany widespread conflict. Even the architecture and urban planning in the Pokemon world subtly reflect this post-war sensibility. Towns and cities are often depicted with ample green spaces, parks, and natural areas integrated into their design. This emphasis on harmony with nature, on coexisting peacefully with both wild Pokemon and the environment, suggests a deliberate move away from the industrialization and resource exploitation that often characterize pre-war societies. The focus is on sustainability and balance, on creating environments where both humans and Pokemon can thrive without encroaching upon each other's needs. The absence of overtly militaristic structures, such as large fortresses or heavily guarded borders, further reinforces the image of a world at peace, a world where defensive measures have been largely dismantled in favor of open and welcoming communities. The gentle flow of rivers through cities, the presence of serene lakes, and the abundance of open skies all contribute to an atmosphere of calm and openness, a deliberate rejection of the closed-off, fortified mentality that widespread conflict often engenders. Consider the legends and myths that permeate the Pokemon world. Figures like Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, the creators of the universe and controllers of time, space, and antimatter, are often depicted as immensely powerful, capable of shaping reality itself. Yet their involvement in the contemporary world is largely indirect, their powers manifesting primarily through ancient legends and the rare, often subtle, influences on the natural order. This suggests a post-war understanding of power, that even the most immense forces must be respected, understood, and ideally remain in a state of balance and non-interference. The stories of these legendary Pokemon often serve as cautionary tales or profound philosophical reflections on creation and destruction, reminding humanity of the delicate equilibrium of existence and the potential consequences of disrupting it. The existence of legendary Pokemon, so often sought after by villainous organizations, also highlights the ongoing struggle to contain and prevent the misuse of immense power, a struggle that mirrors the foundational lessons learned from the war. The very concept of Pokemon training, at its core, is about forging a bond, developing trust, and understanding. It's not about domination or subjugation, but about partnership. While battles are a central element, the most successful trainers are those who understand their Pokemon's strengths and weaknesses, who communicate with them, and who care for them as companions. This emphasis on mutual respect and cooperation stands in direct opposition to the exploitative and controlling tactics often employed in times of war, where living beings are reduced to tools or weapons. The journey of a trainer, from a novice with a single starter Pokemon to a seasoned veteran with a diverse team, is a microcosm of personal growth and responsible stewardship, a journey that implicitly rejects the destructive impulses of the past. The evolution of Pokemon, too, can be seen as a metaphor for growth and adaptation, a natural process that, when guided by a caring trainer, leads to greater strength and potential rather than simply becoming a more potent instrument of destruction. Even the presence of various evil teams throughout the Pokemon games, such as Team Rocket, Team Aqua, Team Magma, Team Galactic, Team Plasma, and Team Flare, can be interpreted through the lens of a post war society struggling with its past. These organizations, though varying in their specific goals, all represent a resurgence of ambition, a desire to control or reshape the world according to their own narrow vision, often through the forceful manipulation of Pokemon. Their very existence and the consistent efforts of young trainers to thwart them suggest that the seeds of conflict, the desire for power and control, can never be entirely eradicated. However, the fact that these teams are consistently defeated by individuals, often children, armed with little more than their Pokemon and their ideals, speaks to the strength of the peacekeeping mechanisms in place. It demonstrates that the societal immune system, built after the war, is robust enough to repel these smaller scale threats, preventing them from escalating into widespread conflict. The evil teams are thus a constant reminder of the fragility of peace and the ongoing need for vigilance, yet their ultimate failures reinforce the triumph of cooperation and mutual respect over greed and domination. Their flamboyant uniforms and often theatrical plans, while menacing, also often lack the grim efficiency and pervasive terror that a truly militaristic, large-scale conflict would entail, further underscoring their role as contained threats within an otherwise peaceful world. The Pokemon world, therefore, is not merely a fantasy setting. It is a meticulously crafted reality built upon the silent echoes of a profound historical event. The vibrant colors, the friendly faces, the gentle journeys, these are not accidental. They are the deliberate choices of a society that has learned from its deepest wounds, a society that has chosen to embrace healing, cooperation, and respect. The quiet hum of a Pokemon Center, the rustle of leaves in a peaceful forest, the soft murmur of a Pokemon's call. These are the lullabies of a world that remembers, even as it strives to forget the war it erased. A world that whispers its lessons through every gentle breeze, every blooming flower, every evolving Pokemon, guiding its inhabitants towards a future of enduring tranquility. A future that is, in itself, a monument to the peace won long ago through hardship and sacrifice. The very ground beneath our feet, the air we breathe, the water that flows through rivers and oceans, all carry the imprint of this transformative past, a constant, subtle reminder that true peace is not an absence of conflict, but the enduring commitment to overcome it again and again with every gentle step forward. This commitment, this quiet dedication to a brighter future, is woven into the very fabric of Pokemon battles themselves. Think about it. A Pokemon battle, at its core, is a structured, consensual engagement. It has rules, boundaries, and a clear objective that doesn't involve annihilation or lasting harm. Even when a Pokemon faints, it is not truly defeated in a permanent sense. It merely needs rest, a visit to a Pokemon Center, and then it is ready to battle again. This stands in stark contrast to the brutal, often deadly nature of real-world warfare. The battles we see in the games and anime are a stylized representation, a highly ritualized form of combat that allows for competition and growth without the devastating consequences of true conflict. This ritualization of combat is a sophisticated societal mechanism, a way to channel aggressive instincts and competitive drives into a safe, constructive outlet. It teaches strategy, resilience, and respect for one's opponent and their Pokemon. The bond between trainer and Pokemon, often highlighted as the key to victory, is not just about power. It's about mutual understanding, trust, and shared experience. These are precisely the qualities that are essential for building and maintaining peace. A world that values these bonds, that encourages their development through friendly competition, is a world that implicitly rejects the divisive, destructive nature of war. The very act of training Pokemon, of raising them from humble beginnings to powerful allies, mirrors the process of societal development, building strength through care, understanding, and shared purpose. Consider the role of the Pokemon League, the ultimate proving ground for trainers. It's a meritocracy, a system where hard work, skill, and the strength of one's bonds with their Pokemon are rewarded. There are no political appointments, no inherited titles, only the challenge of proving oneself through fair competition. This societal structure, centered around a system of honorable challenges, acts as another powerful bulwark against widespread conflict. It provides a legitimate path for individuals to achieve recognition, power, and influence, channeling ambition away from destructive conquest and towards celebrated achievement. The champions, the Elite Four. These are figures of respect and admiration, not feared warlords or tyrannical rulers. Their authority comes from their skill and their dedication to the spirit of battle, not from military might. Even the legendary Pokemon, often depicted as beings of immense power capable of shaping the world, are rarely portrayed as instigators of conflict in the modern era. While their past actions or latent powers might be the subject of ancient myths and legends, in the present day they are often guardians, symbols of natural balance, or even benevolent figures who occasionally intervene to prevent catastrophe. When they do awaken or become involved in human affairs, it is often in response to an imbalance or a threat to the world's natural order, not as aggressors seeking dominion. Their power, when unleashed, is often depicted as a force of nature, indiscriminate and overwhelming, reminding humanity of the consequences of disturbing the delicate balance of the world. This portrayal subtly reinforces the idea that true power is not something to be wielded lightly or for selfish gain, but something that demands respect and a deep understanding of its implications. The sheer diversity of Pokemon, their varied habitats, and the intricate ecosystems they form also speak to a world that values coexistence and natural harmony. From the smallest Caterpie to the largest Wailord, each species has its place, its role in the grand tapestry of life. This natural order, where different species thrive alongside each other, often forming symbiotic relationships, serves as a powerful metaphor for human society. It suggests that strength lies not in uniformity or domination, but in diversity and mutual support. The very concept of catching and training Pokemon, of building a team composed of different types and abilities, encourages an understanding and appreciation of varied strengths and weaknesses, fostering a mindset of strategic cooperation rather than narrow minded exclusion. The architecture of towns and cities, their layouts and designs, also offer subtle clues. While there are sometimes ancient ruins hinting at a more tumultuous past, modern settlements are generally open, welcoming, and designed for community life. There are no fortified walls, no watchtowers, no obvious defensive structures that would suggest a constant threat of invasion or internal strife. The emphasis is on public spaces, on parks, on places where people and Pokemon can gather peacefully. Even the gyms, while sites of intense battles, are integrated into the community, often serving as landmarks and gathering places rather than isolated fortresses. This open design reflects a deeply ingrained sense of security and trust, a societal confidence that the days of needing to defend against external aggression are long past. The common social attitudes, too, are telltale signs. Politeness and helpfulness are often emphasized in interactions with NPCs. Strangers offer advice, share resources, and even heal your Pokemon without expecting anything in return. This pervasive kindness, this willingness to assist fellow travelers, suggests a society that has moved beyond the cutthroat competition and suspicion that often characterize post-war societies. It speaks of a culture that prioritizes community welfare and mutual support, a stark contrast to the desperation and self-preservation that define times of conflict. The very act of a young trainer setting out on a journey, often with the blessing and encouragement of their family and community, implies a world where such an undertaking is considered safe and enriching, rather than dangerous or irresponsible. Even the technology present in the Pokemon world reflects this emphasis on peace and well-being. While advanced, it is largely geared towards convenience, communication, and the care of Pokemon. The Pokemon Centers, with their sophisticated healing machines, are prime examples. The Pokéball, a marvel of miniaturization and containment, is used for peaceful capture and transportation, not for weaponizing Pokemon in a destructive manner. Devices like the Pokédex are tools for knowledge and understanding, not instruments of surveillance or control. The technological advancements, rather than being directed towards military applications, are instead channeled into improving quality of life and fostering deeper connections with the natural world and its inhabitants. The very concept of a Pokemon professor dedicated to studying Pokemon and their habitats further reinforces this peaceful paradigm. These individuals are figures of immense respect and authority, their work centered on understanding and preserving the natural world, not on exploiting it for strategic advantage. Their research contributes to the collective knowledge, enriching society's understanding of its environment and its inhabitants. This emphasis on scientific inquiry for the betterment of all stands in stark contrast to the often secretive, weaponized research that takes place during periods of war. And then there are the myths and legends themselves, often told through ancient texts, oral traditions, or the inscriptions found in forgotten ruins. While these tales might speak of powerful Pokemon clashing, of ancient civilizations rising and falling, they are almost always presented as cautionary tales, as lessons from the past, rather than as blueprints for future conflict. They serve to remind the current generation of the immense power that exists in the world and the importance of respecting it, of maintaining balance, and of avoiding the hubris that can lead to destruction. These stories are not glorified accounts of conquest, but somber reflections on the consequences of unchecked ambition and the wisdom of humility. The absence of any standing army, any formal military presence in the vast majority of Pokemon regions is perhaps the most striking evidence of this deeply ingrained peace. There are no soldiers patrolling borders, no military bases dotting the landscape, no conscription, no visible signs of a state apparatus geared towards warfare. The authority figures are typically gym leaders, champions, and the occasional police officer who deals with petty crime, not a military high command. This profound lack of overt militarization speaks volumes about a society that has consciously disarmed itself, not out of weakness, but out of a profound commitment to a different way of life. It signifies a collective decision to reject the instruments of war and to invest instead in the institutions of peace. This peace, however, is not a passive state. It is an active, ongoing effort, a continuous process of learning, growing, and reminding oneself of the lessons of the past. It is present in the gentle sway of the tall grass as a wild Pokemon emerges, in the comforting glow of a street lamp, in a quiet town at dusk, in the joyful cries of children playing with their Pokemon in a sun-drenched field. It is a peace that has been earned through immense suffering, forged in the crucible of conflict, and now carefully nurtured by every generation. The Pokemon War they erased is not truly erased, but rather absorbed, transformed into the very foundation of the world we see and interact with. Its legacy is not one of lingering bitterness, but of profound gratitude for the peace that now endures, a peace that echoes in every rustle of leaves, every gentle current of water, and every quiet breath taken by a sleeping Pokemon. It is a peace that whispers its story, not through shouting and violence, but through the enduring tranquility of a world that remembers its scars, yet chooses to heal, grow, and forever embrace the gentle path. This enduring tranquility, this carefully cultivated peace, is perhaps most evident in the very nature of Pokemon battles themselves. Look closely at any Pokemon battle, from the most intense gym challenge to a friendly spar in a verdant field, and you will notice a fundamental difference from human centric combat. There is a deep seated respect and almost ritualistic quality to these encounters. Battles are not fought to the death, they are contests of skill, strategy, and the bond between trainer and Pokemon. When a Pokemon faints, it is not truly gone, but merely exhausted, often needing only a simple potion or a visit to a Pokemon Center to be fully restored. This ingrained mechanism underscores the non lethal nature of these conflicts. It's a crucial distinction, an almost utopian ideal woven into the fabric of their reality, where even the most powerful attacks are ultimately designed to incapacitate, not to destroy. Consider the role of the Pokémon Center, a ubiquitous and essential institution across all regions. These centers, staffed by dedicated nurses and supported by advanced technology, represent a communal commitment to healing and restoration. They are sanctuaries, free for all, where any Pokemon, regardless of its owner or its past, can receive immediate and effective care. This widespread, accessible healthcare system for Pokemon speaks volumes about the value placed on life and well-being within this society. It's a direct counterpoint to the devastation of war, a constant reaffirmation of the sanctity of every creature. Imagine a world where after every skirmish, every battle, there was an immediate and universally available means of repairing the damage, of bringing everyone back to full health. This is the reality of the Pokemon world, a reality shaped by the lessons of a forgotten war. Even the competitive aspects of Pokemon training, like the Pokemon League and the Elite Four, are structured around principles of sportsmanship and mutual respect. The goal is not annihilation, but mastery. Champions are revered not for their destructive power, but for their strategic brilliance, their unwavering dedication to their Pokemon, and their ability to inspire others. The accolades they receive are not for conquering nations, but for achieving a pinnacle of skill within a carefully regulated and universally accepted framework. The entire system is built upon a foundation of fair play and the celebration of individual and collective achievement, a stark contrast to the brutal and often indiscriminate nature of warfare. This emphasis on structured competition, on individual excellence within a peaceful framework, suggests a deliberate societal choice to channel competitive instincts into productive and non-destructive outlets. The very concept of a legendary Pokemon also takes on a deeper meaning in this context. These immensely powerful beings, often capable of altering landscapes, controlling weather, or even shaping reality itself, are almost universally depicted as guardians, as forces of nature that maintain balance rather than disrupt it. Their power is rarely, if ever, used for conquest or domination. Instead, stories often recount their interventions to prevent catastrophic imbalances, to restore harmony, or to test the worthiness of human hearts. The legends surrounding them are not tales of military might, but of cosmic responsibility, of ancient wisdom, and of the delicate equilibrium of the world. The respect, even reverence, accorded to these legendary Pokemon by humans is another testament to a society that has learned to appreciate and coexist with immense power, rather than attempting to wield it for destructive ends. The rare instances where a legendary Pokemon is depicted as being involved in conflict, are almost always in the context of defending the world or restoring a lost balance, never as an aggressor for selfish gain. Consider the absence of large-scale military infrastructure. There are no fortresses, no weapon factories, no standing armies of human soldiers. The closest approximation to a protective force might be a few police officers in larger cities, or perhaps the occasional ranger dedicated to preserving natural habitats. Their focus is on maintaining civil order and protecting the environment, not on national defense against external threats. This pervasive demilitarization is not merely an oversight in the world building. It is a profound philosophical statement. It implies that the societal structures in place are so robust, so inherently peaceful, that the need for such instruments of war has simply dissolved. This level of societal peace is a direct product of the historical memory, however faint, of a time when such instruments were indeed necessary and the devastation they wrought. Even the Pokémon themselves, often capable of incredible feats of strength and elemental manipulation, are not typically portrayed as weapons. They are companions, partners, friends. Their power is an extension of their natural abilities, a part of their identity, not something to be manufactured or weaponized. The bond between a trainer and their Pokémon is rooted in mutual trust and affection, not in command and control for destructive purposes. This fundamental relationship, central to the entire Pokémon experience, speaks to a deeply ingrained respect for living creatures and an understanding that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation and understanding. The narratives that do touch upon past conflicts, like those vaguely hinting at a great war or specific historical battles, are almost always presented not as glorious victories, but as cautionary tales. They are woven into the fabric of ancient ruins, whispered in old legends, or hinted at through the sorrowful expressions of ancient spirits. Those stories serve to remind the current generation of the immense power that exists in the world and the importance of respecting it, of maintaining balance, and of avoiding the hubris that can lead to destruction. These are not glorified accounts of conquest, but somber reflections on the consequences of unchecked ambition and the wisdom of humility. The Pokémon War they erased is not truly erased, but rather absorbed, transformed into the very foundation of the world we see and interact with. Its legacy is not one of lingering bitterness, but of profound gratitude for the peace that now endures, a peace that echoes in every rustle of leaves, every gentle current of water, and every quiet breath taken by a sleeping Pokémon. It is a peace that whispers its story, not through shouting and violence, but through the enduring tranquility of a world that remembers its scars, yet chooses to heal, grow, and forever embrace the gentle path. This gentle path is illuminated by the spirit of exploration and discovery that permeates the Pokémon world. Young trainers embark on journeys, not to conquer territories, but to discover new species, to challenge themselves, and to forge lasting bonds with their Pokémon. The emphasis is on personal growth and shared experiences, on expanding one's understanding of the world and its diverse inhabitants. This adventurous spirit, untainted by the specter of war, allows for a freedom of movement and interaction that would be impossible in a militarized world. Borders are permeable, cultures intermingle, and individuals are encouraged to venture forth and learn from others rather than viewing them with suspicion or hostility. The very act of journeying through the tall grass, encountering wild Pokémon, and navigating challenging terrains becomes a metaphor for navigating life's challenges with courage and compassion rather than with aggression. The concept of Team Rocket or other similar villainous organizations, while presenting immediate threats, are always depicted as fringe elements, as outliers whose ambitions are ultimately self-serving and destructive. They are never portrayed as legitimate political entities or as representatives of any established power structure. Their schemes are consistently foiled by the collective efforts of individual trainers, police, and sometimes even legendary Pokemon, reinforcing the idea that the broader society is unified in its rejection of such disruptive forces. These criminal organizations serve as a constant reminder of the potential for darkness, but their consistent defeat underscores the triumph of good, the resilience of the peaceful societal order, and the power of individuals united against selfish motives. They are the shadows that make the light of peace shine even brighter, illustrating what happens when the lessons of the past are ignored by a few. The natural world itself, so vibrant and diverse, also plays a crucial role in maintaining this peace. The delicate ecosystems, the interconnectedness of all living things, and the abundance of natural resources often serve as a backdrop for understanding balance and harmony. The reverence for nature, the efforts to preserve wild habitats, and the understanding of the intricate web of life are all manifestations of a society that has learned to value coexistence over exploitation. This ecological awareness is deeply intertwined with the desire for peace, recognizing that the health of the planet is intrinsically linked to the well-being of its inhabitants. It's a holistic approach to peace, extending beyond just human Pokemon relations to encompass the entire natural order. Even within the most remote and isolated communities, this ethos of peace prevails. From small villages nestled in mountain valleys to bustling island towns, there is a consistent theme of self-sufficiency, community support, and a shared commitment to a harmonious way of life. The focus is on local concerns, on fostering strong relationships within the community, and on living in balance with the surrounding environment. This decentralized, community-focused approach further mitigates the potential for large-scale conflict, as there are no vast, centralized powers vying for dominance. The strength of the Pokemon world lies in its many individual parts, all contributing to a larger tapestry of peace and cooperation, a quiet strength born from the ashes of a forgotten conflict. The echoes of that conflict are not in monuments of war, but in the subtle, pervasive commitment to healing, growth, and the gentle path that every Pokemon and trainer now walks. This path, this gentle current of existence that defines the known Pokemon world, is not merely an absence of war, but an active, conscious choice, a societal agreement forged in the crucible of a past so devastating that its very memory became a threat to the fragile peace that followed. It is a peace built on shared understanding, on the recognition of mutual vulnerability, and on the profound interconnectedness of all life. The very structure of the Pokemon League, for instance, serves not just as a test of skill, but as a ritualized, socially sanctioned outlet for ambition and competition. Trainers battle not for conquest or territory, but for badges, for prestige, for the honor of becoming a champion. This structured competition channels potentially destructive energies into a constructive, even celebratory framework. The battles are intense, the stakes are high for the participants, but the underlying ethos is one of respect, fair play, and personal growth. There are rules, referees, and an emphasis on the well being of the Pokemon involved. It's a far cry from the unbridled devastation of a true war, where no such courtesies are extended, and the objective is the utter incapacitation or destruction of the opponent. The league system, therefore, functions as a kind of societal pressure release valve, allowing individuals to push their limits and test their mettle within a controlled environment, preventing the accumulation of competitive urges that might otherwise erupt into wider, more destructive conflicts. Consider, too, the role of Professor Oak and his counterparts across different regions. These figures are not military strategists or political leaders, but scientists, researchers, and stewards of knowledge. Their focus is on understanding the world, on cataloging its wonders, and on fostering a deeper appreciation for Pokemon and their habitats. The Pokedex, a ubiquitous tool for every trainer, isn't a weapon or a strategic map, but an encyclopedia of life, encouraging observation, empathy, and a desire to learn. The quest to catch 'em all is framed not as an act of dominion, but as a journey of discovery and connection. This emphasis on knowledge and understanding, on the pursuit of scientific inquiry, subtly reinforces the values of peace and cooperation. Ignorance and misunderstanding are often fertile ground for conflict, and by promoting a culture of learning and exploration, the Pokemon world actively works to diminish these potential flashpoints. The professors, with their calm demeanor and endless curiosity, embody a kind of intellectual leadership that values enlightenment over conquest. Even the architecture and urban planning in the Pokemon world reflect this deep-seated commitment to peace. Cities are often designed with lush green spaces, accessible public areas, and a focus on pedestrian-friendly environments. There are no imposing fortresses, no heavily fortified borders between regions, no visible signs of a standing army or a significant military presence. The infrastructure is geared towards travel and trade and communication, all activities that foster connection and understanding, rather than isolation and suspicion. The very ease with which trainers can traverse vast distances, moving freely between towns and regions, speaks to a world without internal strife or political divisions. The regional boundaries, while distinct in terms of culture and Pokemon species, are porous and welcoming, encouraging cross-cultural exchange and mutual appreciation. This fluidity of movement and lack of physical barriers further reinforces the idea of a unified, peaceful world where cooperation is the norm and conflict is an anomaly. The very concept of a gym leader is another fascinating reflection of the societal structure. These individuals are powerful trainers, respected within their communities, but their authority is derived from their skill and their ability to inspire, not from any coercive power. They are guardians of a tradition, mentors to aspiring trainers, and benchmarks of excellence. Their role is to challenge and to teach, not to command or to oppress. The Gym Challenge is a rite of passage, a journey of self discovery, and a shared cultural experience that unites individuals across different backgrounds. Imagine a world where the strongest individuals are not generals or warlords, but master trainers who guide and encourage. This redefinition of power, away from military might and towards personal mastery and mentorship, is a cornerstone of the Pokemon world's enduring peace. Furthermore, the prevalence of healing centers, the ubiquitous Pokemon Centers in every town, speaks volumes about the value placed on life and recovery. These centers are freely accessible, staffed by dedicated nurses, and provide immediate, effective care for any Pokemon, regardless of its owner's status or affiliations. There are no questions asked, no fees demanded, only compassionate care. This universal healthcare system for Pokemon is a powerful symbol of a society that prioritizes well being above all else. In a world scarred by a past conflict, the ability to heal and to restore is paramount. It's a constant, visible reminder that even after battles, even after setbacks, there is always the possibility of recovery, of returning to health and vitality. This commitment to healing extends beyond just physical wounds. It's a societal commitment to repairing, to restoring, and to moving forward. Even the legends and myths of the Pokemon world, while often hinting at ancient conflicts or powerful destructive forces, ultimately serve to reinforce the narrative of peace. Legendary Pokemon, when they appear, are often depicted as arbiters of balance, as guardians of nature, or as beings whose power is so immense that their intervention is often a last resort to prevent catastrophe, not to instigate it. Their stories often carry moral lessons about humility, respect for nature, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. The tale of Arceus, the creator, and the legendary trio of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, for example, speaks of cosmic balance and the potential for chaos if that balance is disturbed. These stories, passed down through generations, function as cautionary tales, reminding people of the immense power that exists in the world and the importance of wielding it responsibly. They are not tales of conquest, but of cosmic order and the delicate equilibrium that must be maintained. The absence of any significant military industrial complex is also a striking feature. There are no factories churning out weapons, no training grounds for soldiers, no visible signs of a war economy. The focus of industry is on developing useful tools, on creating goods for everyday life, and on supporting the activities of trainers and researchers. This lack of a war machine, both physically and economically, further reinforces the idea that conflict is not an anticipated or prepared for event. The societal resources are directed towards constructive rather than destructive endeavors, towards progress and prosperity rather than defense and aggression. This speaks to a profound shift in priorities, a collective decision to invest in a future of peace rather than to perpetually prepare for war. The very concept of a Master Ball, a device capable of catching any Pokemon without fail, is presented not as a tool of ultimate control or domination, but as a rare and precious item, often bestowed upon worthy trainers as a reward for their exceptional skill and dedication. Its scarcity and the reverence with which it is treated prevent it from becoming a weapon of mass capture or a means of consolidating power. Instead, It remains a symbol of mastery and accomplishment, an emblem of a trainer's profound understanding and connection with Pokemon. This careful management of powerful artifacts, ensuring they remain in responsible hands or are exceedingly rare, is another subtle but important aspect of maintaining societal harmony. In essence, the Pokemon world as we know it is a testament to a successful, albeit implicitly understood, societal transformation. It's a world that has consciously chosen to sublimate its darker impulses, to channel its competitive energies into constructive outlets, and to prioritize healing, growth, and understanding over conflict and destruction. The mechanisms of this piece are woven into the very fabric of daily life, into the cultural norms, the societal institutions, and the individual values that are consistently reinforced. The lingering echoes of a forgotten conflict are not in open wounds, but in the pervasive, almost instinctual drive to maintain this hard won tranquility. It's a peace that is actively cultivated, nurtured, and defended not with weapons, but with empathy, education, and an unwavering commitment to the well being of all living things. This deep, inherent commitment to a harmonious existence, an existence free from the scars of a cataclysmic past, is what truly defines the Pokemon world. It's a lullaby sung by a world that has learned its hardest lesson, a whispered promise that peace, however fragile, is always attainable, always worth the effort. And as the night deepens and the stars begin to emerge, this quiet understanding, this profound sense of peace, settles over the land, a gentle assurance that all is well. As we drift deeper into this understanding, we begin to perceive the subtle ways in which this peace is maintained, not through force, but through a constant, gentle reinforcement of values. Consider the Pokémon Centers, ubiquitous and welcoming havens found in every town and along every route. These aren't just medical facilities, they are symbols of universal care and accessibility, places where any Pokemon, regardless of its trainer or its species, can receive healing and restoration without question or cost. This act of unconditional care, freely given, speaks volumes about the underlying philosophy of this world. It removes a critical point of vulnerability, preventing illness or injury from escalating into resentment or conflict. Imagine a world where medical care was a commodity, where access was limited by wealth or status. Such a system would breed inequality and potential unrest. But in the Pokemon world, health is a fundamental right, universally accessible, ensuring that even the weakest or most vulnerable among the Pokemon and their trainers are cared for, fostering a sense of security and belonging rather than competition for resources. This extends to the very nature of Pokemon battles themselves. While they are a central feature of the games, they are presented less as clashes of brute strength and more as strategic competitions, tests of skill, and opportunities for growth and bonding between trainer and Pokemon. The emphasis is consistently on the well-being of the Pokemon, with trainers urged to recall their partners when they are tired or injured, and the battle mechanic itself often involves a clear progression towards unconsciousness rather than lasting harm. There is no concept of a death match or a battle to the finish in the traditional sense. Instead, battles are a structured and ritualized form of interaction designed to hone abilities and strengthen relationships, not to inflict permanent damage or to assert dominance through irreversible means. The unspoken rules of engagement, the immediate recourse to healing at a Pokémon Center, and the celebration of sportsmanship all contribute to an environment where competition is healthy and constructive, never destructive. Even the legendary Pokémon, beings of immense power capable of shaping the very fabric of the world, are often portrayed as guardians or arbiters of balance, rather than as instruments of war or subjugation. Their interventions, when they occur, are typically in response to a disturbance in the natural order, a threat to the delicate equilibrium of the world, rather than as a means to conquer or control. Their existence, while awe-inspiring, doesn't inspire fear of their power being weaponized by nefarious forces, at least not for long, because the prevailing societal structure is designed to resist such exploitation. The few instances where legendary Pokémon are manipulated by villains serve as stark warnings, highlighting the catastrophic consequences of disrupting this natural balance and ultimately reinforcing the idea that such power is best left undisturbed or respected. The concept of evil teams in the Pokemon games, while providing narrative conflict, also subtly underscores this theme of societal resilience. These teams, whether it's Team Rocket, Team Aqua, Team Magma, or others, consistently aim to exploit Pokemon for selfish gain, to disrupt the natural order, or to achieve dominion over others. However, they are consistently met with resistance, not just from the protagonist, but from the established institutions of the world: gym leaders, the Elite Four, the champion, and even ordinary citizens who recognize the inherent wrongness of such actions. The evil is always an aberration, a deviation from the norm, and never a systemic problem. Their plots, however grand, are always ultimately foiled, not just because the protagonist is powerful, but because the underlying societal values are fundamentally opposed to their destructive ambitions. The world itself, in its very structure and the collective will of its inhabitants, rejects these attempts to sow discord and chaos. Think about the infrastructure dedicated to Pokemon research and knowledge. Professors, scattered across various regions, are not just academics, they are custodians of understanding, dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of Pokemon, their habitats, and their interactions with the world. Their work is collaborative, shared, and aimed at enhancing humanity's relationship with Pokemon, not at finding ways to dominate or exploit them. The creation of the Pokédex, a monumental undertaking that cataloged every known Pokemon, is a testament to this thirst for knowledge and understanding. It's a tool for discovery, for appreciation, and for fostering deeper connections, not a military intelligence database. This emphasis on learning, on observation, and on sharing information fosters a culture of curiosity and respect rather than one of fear or suspicion. The very absence of explicit military forces or a concept of national borders and armies as we understand them in our world is a powerful indicator of this post-conflict society. There are no nation-states vying for territory or resources through armed conflict. Instead, the regions seem to coexist in a state of mutual respect and cooperation, facilitated by shared values and a common understanding of their relationship with Pokemon. Travel between regions is generally unimpeded, and cultural exchanges are common, suggesting a unified world rather than a fragmented one constantly on the brink of war. This global harmony, while perhaps idealized, is a deliberate narrative choice that reflects a world that has moved beyond the destructive impulses that often plague human societies. The historical accounts, often veiled in ancient legends and myths, sometimes hint at periods of greater strife or imbalance, times when powerful Pokemon clashed, or when human ambition led to catastrophe. These tales, however, are presented as cautionary lessons, echoes from a distant past that serve to reinforce the current commitment to peace and balance. They are not forgotten entirely, but rather integrated into the cultural fabric as reminders of what must be avoided, ensuring that the lessons of the past are never truly lost, but transformed into wisdom that guides the present. The legendary Pokemon, often associated with these ancient conflicts, are now seen as symbols of balance, of creation, or of the forces of nature, their destructive potential subdued by a greater understanding and respect. Even the training of Pokemon, from the very first moments a young trainer receives their starter, is imbued with a philosophy of care and growth. Trainers are taught to nurture their Pokemon, to understand their personalities, and to develop their strengths through encouragement and effort, not through harsh discipline or forced obedience. The bond between trainer and Pokemon is consistently portrayed as a partnership, a relationship built on trust and mutual respect, rather than one of master and servant. This fundamental approach to training, emphasizing empathy and collaboration, directly contrasts with a mindset that would seek to subjugate or weaponize these powerful creatures. It's a pedagogical approach that subtly but powerfully reinforces the overarching theme of peace and harmony. Consider the role of the Pokemon League, the ultimate challenge for trainers. It is not a test of martial prowess designed to identify the strongest combatants for a potential army. Instead, it is a journey of self-discovery, a rite of passage that tests a trainer's skill, wisdom, and crucially, their bond with their Pokemon. The ultimate goal is not to defeat all opponents in a literal sense, but to prove one's worth as a responsible and dedicated trainer, a testament to their understanding of the Pokemon world and their place within it. The champion, the pinnacle of this journey, is not a warlord or a military leader, but a revered figure who embodies the ideals of the League: strength, compassion, and an unwavering dedication to their Pokemon. The simple act of walking through tall grass, encountering wild Pokemon, and perhaps catching them, is another reflection of this careful balance. While there's an element of chance, it's not presented as a hostile or dangerous wilderness. Wild Pokemon are part of the ecosystem, and interactions are generally non-aggressive unless provoked. Catching a Pokemon is often portrayed as an act of invitation, an opportunity for a Pokemon to join a trainer's journey rather than an act of forceful capture. The various Pokeballs, from the basic Pokeball to the Ultra Ball, are tools of persuasion and connection, not instruments of coercion. This gentle approach to interacting with the wild reinforces the idea that even in the undirected natural world, harmony is the underlying principle. And so, as the world of Pokemon settles into the quiet rhythms of the night, we can see how deeply this peace is woven into its very being. It's not a superficial peace, but one forged from difficult lessons, sustained by conscious choices, and nurtured by the collective spirit of its inhabitants. The echoes of a forgotten conflict are not wounds that fester, but rather scars that have healed, leaving behind a deeper understanding and a profound appreciation for the tranquility that now reigns. It's a world that has chosen empathy over aggression, cooperation over conquest, and understanding over division. This is the quiet strength of the Pokemon world, a silent promise whispered on the night air, a testament to the enduring power of peace. The stars outside twinkle with a calm, steady light, mirroring the tranquil world we've explored, a world that has learned to sleep soundly, knowing that the greatest battles are often fought and won within the heart. The gentle hum of the night, the soft rustling of leaves, all contribute to this pervasive sense of calm, a lullaby for a world at peace. The very structure of the Pokémon Centers, those ubiquitous havens of healing and restoration, speaks volumes about this ingrained philosophy. They are not hospitals in the traditional, often sterile sense, but rather welcoming community hubs, open to all, regardless of affiliation or financial standing. A trainer, exhausted from their travels, can walk in, hand over their injured or fatigued Pokemon, and know with absolute certainty that they will be cared for by dedicated, compassionate individuals. The iconic Nurse Joy, with her kind smile and unwavering commitment, is not merely a medical professional, but a symbol of altruism, a living embodiment of the world's dedication to the well-being of all creatures. There is no bill, no insurance jargon, no bureaucratic hurdles to navigate. The healing is offered freely, a fundamental right rather than a purchasable service. This societal commitment to mutual aid, to the unconditional support of both human and Pokemon, paints a vivid picture of a post-conflict world that has deliberately chosen a path of shared responsibility and collective flourishing. Even the concept of villainous teams, those recurring antagonists in each generation, subtly reinforces this narrative of a world striving for peace. While their motives might be nefarious, be it world domination, environmental destruction, or the exploitations of legendary Pokemon, their methods are often portrayed as misguided, their grand schemes ultimately failing due to their own arrogance and lack of understanding. They are rarely depicted as truly insurmountable military forces, but rather as disruptive elements, anomalies in an otherwise harmonious society. Their defeat is not a bloody conquest, but a restoration of balance, a reassertion of the prevailing values of coexistence and respect. Team Rocket, for instance, in their earliest iterations, were often more bumbling than truly threatening, their grand ambitions undercut by their own incompetence and a fundamental misunderstanding of Pokemon. Giovanni, despite his formidable presence, was ultimately a criminal mastermind rather than a military general, his organization a syndicate rather than an army. Their defeat, often at the hands of a single young trainer, underscores the idea that even grand ambitions, born of greed or power, are ultimately no match for the simple, honest bonds forged between a trainer and their Pokemon, and the collective spirit of a world that values peace. The absence of overt weaponry in the Pokemon world is another striking detail, one that becomes more profound when considered against the backdrop of a past conflict. Trainers do not carry guns or swords. Their battles are fought with the innate abilities of their Pokemon, guided by strategy and friendship. The tools they do possess are for healing, for catching, for navigating, or for enhancing their Pokemon's natural strengths. The Pokeballs themselves, while capable of containing immensely powerful creatures, are not weapons in the destructive sense. They are instruments of transport and partnership, not tools of war. This deliberate omission of conventional arms speaks volumes about a societal choice, a conscious turning away from the implements of violence that would have undoubtedly been prevalent during a period of widespread conflict. It suggests a dismantling of war-making infrastructure, a collective decision to disarm and to focus on alternative forms of power and influence. Even the legendary Pokemon, those beings of immense power and often world-altering capabilities, are rarely portrayed as forces of destruction or conquest. While they can be formidable, their power is often depicted as a force of nature, a balancing influence, or a source of profound wisdom. They are guardians, creators, or arbiters of balance, not generals leading armies. When their power is unleashed, it is often in response to an imbalance, a disruption of the natural order, rather than a deliberate act of aggression. The narratives surrounding them frequently emphasize the importance of understanding and respect, of approaching these powerful beings with humility rather than with a desire for control or domination. The stories of their awakening often involve a young trainer, not a military leader, who through empathy and courage manages to quell their rage or guide their actions towards a benevolent end. This further cements the idea that in this world, even the most immense power is understood through the lens of harmony, not hostility. Consider the historical texts within the games themselves, those scattered clues and ancient legends that hint at a past shrouded in mystery. While they rarely explicitly detail a war, they often speak of periods of great upheaval, of destructive clashes between powerful Pokémon, of ancient kings and their struggles. These legends, often fragmented and open to interpretation, serve as subtle reminders of a turbulent past, a past that shaped the present tranquility. The tales of ancient civilizations that rose and fell, sometimes due to their own hubris or their attempts to control forces beyond their understanding, echo the potential for catastrophic conflict. The ruins of these bygone eras, standing silent and weathered in the modern landscape, are monuments not just to architectural prowess, but to the lessons learned from past mistakes. They are quiet sentinels, reminding the present generation of the fragility of peace and the consequences of unchecked ambition. The very geography of the Pokemon world, with its diverse biomes and distinct regions, also tells a story. While there are clear boundaries, there is a pervasive sense of interconnectedness, of open borders, and free movement. Trainers routinely travel between regions, encountering new Pokemon, new cultures, and new challenges, all without the implication of nationalistic rivalries or geopolitical tensions. The Pokemon League serves as an overarching unifying institution, transcending regional differences and promoting a common goal. This global cooperation, this seamless flow of people and Pokemon across varied landscapes, stands in stark contrast to a world divided by conflict, with fortified borders and suspicion between territories. It suggests a deliberate move towards integration and shared identity, a conscious effort to dismantle the very divisions that often fuel wars. Even the evolution of Pokemon, a core mechanic of the games, can be seen as a metaphor for growth and change and the potential for transformation rather than a purely combative enhancement. While evolution often brings increased power, it is also depicted as a natural developmental stage, a blossoming of potential. Pokemon evolve not just through battle, but through friendship, through exposure to specific items, or through reaching a certain level of experience. This multifaceted approach to evolution underscores the idea that growth is not solely dependent on aggression, but on a holistic development that includes companionship and environmental factors. It speaks to a world that values not just brute strength, but the multifaceted journey of self improvement and adaptation. The constant emphasis on friendship and happiness as factors influencing a Pokemon's performance and evolution also subtly reinforces this post conflict ethos. A Pokemon that trusts and loves its trainer will often perform better in battle, will have access to unique moves, and will sometimes even refuse to evolve if it means leaving its trainer behind. This deep emotional connection, this bond of mutual respect and affection, is presented as a powerful force, often more potent than raw strength alone. It suggests that the most effective way to achieve victory, both in battle and in life, is through connection and empathy rather than through intimidation or coercion. This isn't just a game mechanic, it's a fundamental principle woven into the fabric of the Pokemon world, a silent philosophy that guides the interactions between all its inhabitants. The quiet, almost unspoken assumption of peace that permeates every aspect of the Pokemon world is perhaps its most profound and subtle testament to a forgotten war. It's not a peace born of ignorance, but one consciously chosen, meticulously maintained, and deeply valued. The absence of overt conflict is not a void, but a presence, the presence of a world that has learned, grown, and healed. The scars are not visible on the surface, but they are etched into the very values and institutions that govern this tranquil existence. The gentle hum of the night, the soft rustling of leaves, all contribute to this pervasive sense of calm, a lullaby for a world at peace, a world that remembers the storms of the past and has chosen, with unwavering resolve, to bask in the quiet strength of the present moment. And as the stars continue their silent dance across the inky canvas of the sky, mirroring the serene peace we've journeyed through, the narrative of a world transformed by its past, yet forever looking towards a harmonious future, settles softly into the quiet chambers of your mind, guiding you towards a restful slumber.